Is this a very Chinese time in your life? The, t- the trend boosting China's soft power. So basically, like the cultural victory in Civ 5. Ni hao, we're all Chinese now. Well, we might be one day. Or at least that's what they claim on TikTok, where a trend called China maxing has taken off in the West. Chinese wellness practices, once associated with the tacky and geriatric, have suddenly found themselves in vogue largely among Americans and probably via TikTok. From warm apple boiled water to indoor slippers. How's indoor slippers Chinese? I have slippers. They're like the number one Christmas present over here.
I love it free.
Slippers aren't Chinese, shut up. And longevity exercises. People are sharing
I
videos of
love.
themselves learning to be Chinese, but you're getting ready to sleep in a fucking 1 foot by 5 foot bunk and work in a factory for 16 hours a day. Many come with the Fight Club inspired caption, "You met me at a very Chinese time in my life," or the hashtag newly Chinese. As Donald Trump shakes up the world order, the Chinese Communist Party has welcomed this boost to the country's image. China maxing is certainly adding more gloss to the recent flourish of Chinese soft power. Over the past years, we've seen the world clamour for Labubu dolls, my fucking kids like them as well, wait in line at brand new stores to buy Mixu bubble tea and Luckin coffee. And scroll, I don't like the bubble tea. Bubble tea's been around for a wee while. I don't like it. It looks like fucking frog spawn.
It
It
looks
looks
like
like you're
frog
drinking
spawn.
alien eggs or some shit like that. It's fucked up and I don't like it. And scroll through their friends' holiday feeds in the cyberpunk city of Chongqing. Some say China maxing stems from young Americans' disenchantment with their own country, although it's clear how much that is really driving, unclear how much that is really driving the trend. A lot of people do feel disenfranchised with their own countries because they're not allowed to like their own countries or their own culture. If you're white, you're not. You're actually told you don't have a culture. If you're white, uh, you're not allowed to have a culture. You're not allowed to like your country. You're not allowed to like this. You're not allowed to like that, and that can leave people feeling very disenfranchised. Of oh well, what do I identify with? So that might make people latch on to like other cultures and stuff like that, so that they feel like they have some sort of connection to some kind of identity. So I'm gonna guarantee the vast majority of them are going to be white. They're going to be white, and I'm not maybe not even right wing or liberal. I'm just going to say just generally because you're not allowed to identify with your own culture if you're white, because that makes you racist. Everybody else though, Black pride, Chinese pride, Somalian pride, all of
Holy
these are
fuck,
absolutely
yeah, I
fine. But
get
a
you.
little bit of white pride, and everybody starts getting a little bit fucking nervous, and you fucking should be. But anyway, some say China Maxi. I've just read that. But like so many internet trends, this one hardly paints the full picture. It's a celebration of memes and fleeting moments that make up just one slice of Chinese life. Beyond that are young people who, like their American counterparts, are also worried about their future in a sluggish economy and a fast changing world. A very Chinese time in our lives. Some Chinese youth may find it strange that parts of their culture, long seen as uncool in the Western imagination, are now the object of fascination. Some may find it offensive that Westerners on
Bing
TikTok are
chilling.
facetiously claiming they've been diagnosed as Chinese. But others say China maxing strikes a different note from derogatory jokes like Bing Chilling. That wasn't a derogatory joke. People were just repeating what John Cena said. Mima Hashiwa, Bing Chilling. But anyway, where the punchline is ex wrestler John Cena's stilted Mandarin pronunciation, or the social credit meme that mocks the Chinese government's restrictions on personal freedoms. What do you mean now? That's not derogatory. They absolutely should be made fun of for that. Any government that's like infringing on people's personal freedoms deserves to be made fun of.
You
Shut the
mean like
fuck up.
your government?
Uh, oh, you don't like. Oh, you don't like government overreach? That's racist. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Hmm? Hmm? But anyway, one of the most influential figures behind the China maxing meme is Sherry Zhu, a Chinese American TikTok content creator who regularly shares traditional wellness tips with her Chinese baddies. Tomorrow you're
Chinese
turning
body.
Chinese, she tells us. You will be Chinese. Hold on. Is it in here? Yes, it is. Pretty well, that's this fucking thing.
Oh no, he's got a
Right.
heart.
There we go. Oh, wait. Bald. Anyway, yeah, there we are. Right? So it's basically, you've got all these people that want to come in this country. Yeah, you've got all the Somalians, you've got all the Indians, you've got absolutely everybody else. Everybody wants to be, I've got this back to front. I do have this back to front. You've got everybody want to come into this country and you want to be British. Fine. You want to be British? We're going to make you British the old fucking fashioned way. Right? Don't worry. Don't just stay right where you are. We'll come to you. We'll come to you. And also, I did go through a very, very Chinese time in my life because for some reason I became I became very, very popular with Chinese exchange students for a little while. And it turns out that other ones I was going on dates with, they all know each other. They all know each other, and I was kind of like, wait a minute, you know, like, I'm not going to say her name. And she was like, yeah, yeah. And it was like, almost like I came highly recommended. None of them wanted to be my fucking girlfriend. They just wanted something else. So I was kind of like pissed off about that. And I didn't, and I did get a little bit butt mad about it. And then I would get the text at like 3 in the morning, like, hey, you up? And I'd be like, well, yeah, but I'm not going to enjoy it. Right? But anyway, they liked me. You had Lawrence of Arabia. I'm Marcus of Manchuria. So, but anyway, tomorrow you're turning British. And I know that sounds intimidating, but there is no point in fighting it now. Oh, this was brought to you by the Chinese Communist Party. This, by the way, I would not be the tiniest bit surprised if this was a vector that the Chinese Party were going down. Right? Because if there is one thing that I'll give Americans, the West are very direct. They're like, you're doing a thing, oh, bombs, like tomorrow. Like that's something that the West does, right? Communists and everybody else, because they don't have the military might, you know, just kind of don't have the military might to quite get themselves there. They instead play the long game. They play the long game. They do things like slowly bringing in a lot of fucking fentanyl or instigating the migrant crisis. And basically they will, over a course of a few decades, instead of just going bombs, bombs, bombs today, they will, over the course of a few decades, slowly destabilize and fuck up a country. That's what they do. They play the long game, and by the way, it's fucking working. But anyway, few could have seen this coming. I mean, anyone that was slightly politically literate could see this coming. It was not that long ago when the COVID pandemic sparked a wave of xenophobia. Chinese diaspora spoke of racism and how people were avoiding the community and their businesses. Then, a stunned world watched Beijing put its cities into hellish lockdowns. Reports emerged of residents running out of food and pleading for help from inside their sealed-off neighbourhoods. Yeah, I seen the videos coming out of China. It was pretty fucking bad. The restrictions ended in early 2023 after rare protests. By then, expats had left China in droves, many of them saying too much had changed. There was also an exodus from Hong Kong, where Beijing's control was reshaping the city. This, along with China's growing power and assertiveness, strained the relationship with the West, even as the world's reliance on the Chinese economy became clear. Meanwhile, yeah, China, this is the problem, is China is a manufacturing powerhouse, and this is why that's a very, very dangerous thing. This is something that is very important to point out. Now, when it comes to, for example, if Britain went to war with China, we'd get pumped. We don't have the same military might as China. We're a shadow of what we once were. Oh, huzzah. Like, oh, well, huzzah, wrong hat. But, older hat. But, basically, the real reason that we did so well during World War II is we had an enormous manufacturing base still in Britain. We had factories, we had metal lathes, we had all the equipment that we needed. Basically, a factory, you could go, oh, add 2 more machines and you can make tanks. Banging, boom, you make tanks now. I realised that before it, you made, like, soup cans, right? But no, boom, you make tanks now, right? And that was something that was so necessary during the war. So many places got repurposed into munitions factories, plane factories, tank factories, medical factories and everything. I spoke pretty recently about why heroin's such a huge problem in Scotland. It's because the morphine was produced here, the morphine for the medical kits and everything during World War II. They get smuggled out the factory, people got addicted, hey-ho, heroin epidemic, which is still going on to this day, right? But basically, the reason we did so well in World War II is we had a huge manufacturing base here. However, a good chunk of the West has now outsourced all of its manufacturing to China, where it's much, much cheaper. China has shit tons of factories, tons of fucking factories, and a legion of people who are very, very happy sitting at a conveyor belt for 16 hours a day, right? The average person here cries over a fucking 8-hour shift. The average person here cries over a 9 to 5, right? So when the shit hits the fan, we've got like no factories to basically keep up with the fucking powerhouse that is China. That's why it's a bit of a problem. That's why when people are saying, oh, we're going to bring jobs back to insert country name here, people get really mad about that. You don't realise that Russia and China, as far as our nations go, we're enemies, right? So we basically need to do things to not make our enemies stronger and make ourselves stronger, right? That's why having a huge manufacturing base when it comes to wartime, that'll decide the victory or not. Right, because I mean, who's going to make your tanks? Who's going to make your weapons? That's why China being such a manufacturing powerhouse is a little bit of a problem. Meanwhile, China's investment in tech, infrastructure and exports began to pay off and became more visible as it reopened post-pandemic, relaxing visa rules to bring back tourists. It was hard to miss: glitzy skyscrapers, a sprawling high-speed rail network, highways packed with electric vehicles, and a boom in green energy. Robotics and artificial intelligence. Chongqing, a human southwestern metropolis, which once made global headlines for a corruption scandal and murder, turned popular and cool. There have been other, smaller triumphs. Young people around the world are snatching Adidas Tang-style jackets off the shelves, binging on Chinese microdramas, and experimenting with powdery makeup looks flaunted by Chinese girls and women on Douyin, China's version of TikTok. As a Chinese person who has been online throughout years and years of heavy xenophobia, it felt refreshing to have the mainstream opinion finally shift regarding China. Claire, a Chinese-Canadian TikTok user, tells BBC Chinese. Like, there's the thing is, I don't hate the Chinese people. I like them very much, right? They were all fucking using me for a little while, right? Not cool, but I mean, I still said yes. But I don't not like the Chinese people. I really like the Chinese. I hate the Chinese government. As for Chinese culture, like, I don't know, what could you say bad about what is bad about it? I think the work ethic is like a bit like Japan, where, I mean, it's good to have a strong work ethic, but like Japan, you lot kind of take it a little bit fucking overboard. But no, I don't think, I can't really think of a bad thing to say about Chinese culture. I don't really hate Chinese people or anything. This is the one thing is as well, is especially on like the British right and everything. You'll hear everybody complaining about the Muslims, you'll hear everybody complaining about the Jews, you'll hear everybody complaining about Africans, Somalians, and people from the Middle East and everything like that. You'll never hear them complain about the Chinese, because one of the weird things that I absolutely will give the Chinese community over here is they absolutely keep to themselves. They keep to themselves. I've not even looked to see what they're like in crime statistics. I guarantee you a lot of the Asian crime statistics over here are going to involve the Vietnamese, for reasons that I've discussed previously in the past. But yeah, I mean, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever heard any of my friends bitch about the Chinese. I've heard plenty about every single other race, but I've never heard anybody complain about the Chinese. I don't think there is xenophobia. So it's not real, it's all in your head. The 22-year-old who shares political content on TikTok and would only reveal her first name for that reason. Again, the people aren't the problem, the government is. Says for her, the critical juncture was last year. That was when she noticed a shift in attitudes about China. A wave of Americans arriving on Redno, a popular Chinese social media app, ahead of a TikTok ban in the US. Within days, memes became the currency of these American TikTok refugees, as two worlds that rarely interact because of China's internet firewall were brought closer. A dimming American dream. These young people have watched their physical reality remain frozen while China built entire cities, says Afra Wang, a tech writer and podcaster. Well, unfortunately, a lot of these cities are built with corn on the cob husks covered in concrete. Don't believe me? Fucking Google it. When you can't build high-speed rail, but you can scroll through videos of Chinese infrastructure, of course, the future starts to look Chinese. For observers like her, it's no coincidence that China-maxing becomes as the American dream seems to be dimming. Which is kind of true. Again, remember, these guys play the fucking long game. Totally disenfranchise you and make you feel terrible. Well, oh my god, it looks so great over there. Man, I really wish Xi Jinping was in charge. Oh, and I'm like, yeah. That's the thing, is propaganda, but the long game propaganda. Americans who came of age after the Iraq War, the 2008 global financial crisis, or even the 6th of January 2021 Capitol riot, faced a job market disrupted by globalization and then AI. Wang says American exceptionalism was never something that they lived. And that is the problem. Everybody, especially here in the West, I know that there's everybody right now, like, see, my wagey days were fucking rough, right? They're fucking bad. Nobody likes being a wagey. It's fucking terrible. Especially when you're doing great big fat fucking hours for a manager that's a fucking arsehole, for customers who are even bigger fucking arseholes. And then after you've paid all of your bills, you look down and you've got like 30 quid to get you to the end of the week. And you haven't even fucking eaten yet. That sucks. That shit sucks. I never want to go back to that. Right, I will one day. YouTube's not forever. That's just the nature of the beast. Right, that's just the way things are. But, like, I can totally understand why people are just in the West just feel shit. Things just feel shit. Right, and I totally understand. And again, and you're not allowed to identify with anything, so you're going to China. It's actually a very, 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 very clever ploy by them. One thing I'll give them, they're clever. Rather, in the eyes of the Chinese people, America, once seen as a beacon of success, has lost its shimmer, and I would argue that's completely true. Not least because tensions between the two sides have made it harder for Chinese students who want to study or work there. During America's China-maxing moment, China is experiencing its own America-minimizing moment, Wang says. On parts of Chinese social media, there are dystopian references to the US kill line, a Chinese gaming term that refers to the perilous descent into poverty in the US. The idea, which took root quickly among users and influencers, is that America is a tough place to survive because a single stroke of bad luck can derail your life. That's true. That's true. Get hit with a fucking car or something that's totally not your fault, and then you don't have medical insurance, and the other person doesn't have car insurance. Yeah, you're fucked. That's it. Your life's over. Or if you get some kind of like thing wrong with you and you want an operation, boom, here's $250,000 fucking hospital bill. I know you've been paying your premiums for like years and years now, but that little specific thing that you needed, and it turns out we actually don't cover it. Sorry. Yeah. That's true. That is genuinely true. The term's popularity on social media is helped by the fact that it has been embraced by Chinese state media and the government. Well, because of course it has. They have sought to portray the US as a decaying superpower because of inequality, a weak social safety net, and a broken healthcare system. What was it? There was like a ruler. I remember seeing this picture ages ago. There was a ruler that was used for surgery. And it was just a plastic ruler. It was just a sterile plastic ruler. That was it. And it was worth something like $380 for a ruler and everything. Yeah, the American healthcare system is fucking busted. I thought you were a libertarian. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I am. Which means that other people are allowed to compete. Basically, see the great big pharmaceutical companies, they fucking love regulations because it prices out the little guy. No other little guys can get a foothold in, so those guys basically have the monopoly. Yeah, they're in charge now. Big companies. See how if you need to pay a 10 million license to see a pharmaceutical company? Whatever, they've got that lying down the back of the couch. Right, but some new little company that wants to start up and actually make some waves in the industry, they for your mum and dad's garage, you got $10 million, yeah? That's why they love regulation. It prices out competition. That's why the company gets really big, and then the company might even advocate for regulation itself because it knows that that's all competition gone. Nobody will be able to rise up against them. Whereas under libertarianism, that wouldn't happen, right? So then basically, these companies would actually have to gasp, be good, and not be corrupt fuckers, right? Because that way there's a much more competition, so you actually have to be a good company. And not just go, oh, are we all those available? Sorry. Anyway, that'll be £500 for that fucking ruler for your surgery. But yeah. But anyway, I keep going on tangents. I'm talking about the Chinese. It's little wonder that Chinese authorities are pleased with China maxing. Chinese lifestyles increasingly gain global appeal, offer a steadier way of being, reads the headline of a Global Times piece about the trend. Fucking hell, this has been a long bloody video. Me and my fucking tangents, man. But anyway, when asked about it at a press briefing earlier this month, bloody cold, this has been a shambles. The hat's saving it though. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jiang said, a unique blend of history and modernity is making China increasingly appealing to foreigners. He was happy to see foreigners experiencing the everyday life of ordinary Chinese people. Are they really? For one, it's hard to know what Chinese people make of so many things because all public conversation and activity is heavily policed. Criticising the government is risky, and protests are quickly quashed. Right, well, basically, here is my experience of Chinese people. First off, they're very, very happy to spend time with you and do a lot of other stuff, but they don't want to date you. Second off, they're fucking arseholes on Rust. They are absolute fucking arseholes on Rust, and all of them are hacking. All of them are fucking hacking. Right, literally all. See any Chinese bloody Zerg clan that you get on Rust, there's always that one guy who fucking 360 no-scopes you point two of a second after you peek around a corner when he didn't know you were there. Happens very often, many such cases. Right? So basically my experience of Chinese people is they're users and they're hackers. That's my experience of them. I'm kidding on. I've got Chinese friends. They're cool. Two, there is a lot of the memes making it to the. There is a lot the memes making it to the West don't show. China's youth are facing an unemployment rate that sits at more than 15% and burning out from a grueling work culture, like I was talking about earlier. Yet, sharing too much of their pessimism online could alert internet censors. They are worried about finding a home as the country's property crisis continues, and dating is no easier than anywhere else. Yeah, the whole dating problem is like universal, except in Africa and the Middle East. Because over in the West and all that, and in most parts of Asia and South Korea, it's really bad. Where you're doing the jester, and you've seen the meme, you've seen that gif, and basically women's expectations are fucking nuclear, and men can't meet them. And then women are going, where are all the good men? Whereas my billionaire 6-foot rugby playing doctor, and don't worry, darling, you'll meet him one day. I'm sure. Right around, I know you're 43 right now, but don't worry, I'm sure he's right round the corner. You froze your eggs, didn't you? But the only place where it's fine is like the Middle East, because their dad basically just goes, "You're marrying this man." You're marrying this man. And in Africa as well, because, well, let's face it, down there women can't really say no, can they? But anyway, propping up breakneck delivery speeds are gig workers scrambling to hit deadlines. Many can relate to the hustle. In 2023, Beijing courier Hu Anyan's memoir about the relentless nature of gig work became a national bestseller. When I think of my American friends and tech people wandering through Shenzhen in awe, I also think of my own experience in Shenzhen, Wang says. Drinking a 6-1 latte from Luckin Coffee delivered on a scooter by someone like Hu Anyan, whose labour makes cool China visible while remaining almost invisible themselves. Perhaps if the fascination with China's successes continues, more of Chinese life will surface. But for now, apple tea seems to be where it's at. Ever since I started boiling apples in my tea water, my period cramps have completely gone, reads a comment on Rednote from an American user, one of the TikTok refugees still lingering on the app. We have so much still left to learn being Chinese. That's the thing is, if you want to China Max, you can China Max if you want. I'd kind of like don't really care. Again, from the surface level experience that I have, I don't really have a bad thing to say about Chinese culture. I don't really have a bad thing to say about the Chinese being over here as well, because I've noticed there are shit tons of students that come over, but then once they're done, they're done. They leave. They go straight back to China and everything. There's some of them hang around, but like not many. But over here as well, the Chinese immigrants pretty much keep to themselves. I actually haven't looked at any statistics because I'm kind of concerned with other races who are bigger problems. But yeah, I've got plenty bad to say about the Chinese government. Plenty bad to say about the Chinese government, but not so much bad to say about the Chinese people.
Chat, get them diapers on at spooky time. Let's go. Get them diapers on at spook.
We're constantly hearing
Oh, no women voices.
live stream view botting is completely out of control. Well, I can talk about this. Let's get to it. Look who it is.
Kick has a massive botting problem. Even the
Yes.
CEO himself admits that most
True.
of the Kick partner program is botting, which is a crazy statement to make as the CEO.
If we banned every single person who view botted from the KPP program, the reality is there wouldn't be many people left.
So, I mean, when the CEO is shamelessly admitting it, it's bad. But this has been a topic of conversation for years now. Like, people have been calling Trainwrecks the boy who cried view botters since at least 2023.
They've been calling him out. They've been saying Trainwrecks is like, oh, wow. By the way, it was way before 2023. Like, me, Train, and XQC, and like a few of our other friends have been talking about this for like 7 years, 6 years, like in 2019, 2020.
Rex was right.
He was.
He was telling us, and we didn't listen.
Yep.
All the streamers are view botting, and
Bots taking over?
Listen to him. Everyone was like, "He's schizo. He's crazy." He was right.
That's
But
true.
now, it finally
He was right.
seems like he's being vindicated on both sides of the coin,
Yep.
with the issue reaching further than just live viewers. It's now infecting Clippers as well.
Don't
Yep.
Clippers just bought their clips to get fake view numbers
Oh, they
to
do.
make more money?
It's more likes. They do it with likes, so people think the clip is more viral than it is.
We got botting problems everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like botting.
Everything's fake. Nothing's real.
Everything's
Everybody in
fake,
chat is a
nothing's
bot.
real.
Every viewer is a bot. It's the dead internet theory, and it's happening.
Problems are not mutually exclusive to Kick. It's not mutually
Yeah.
exclusive to live streaming. Like botting is everywhere. That's the reality.
But view botting has been a hot button issue on streaming sites for years now. Even
Forever.
if viewers haven't always been buying
Yeah.
it, nor are
10
streamers really
years.
fessing up to it.
All the stuff that I'm learning, that I'm seeing, it's beginning to make sense low key, right? If I'm sitting at 30 to 35 and all my social medias and everything like matches up with that, my
Yeah.
chatters, the activations, merch sales, this
Yep,
and that,
yep.
right? The numbers match up to that, but everyone else, it doesn't, then I'm beginning to understand the petty drama because they're telling themselves, I'm not a 35K viewer streamer.
Yeah.
I'm probably doing this weird. I'm really a 20K. This
Yeah.
was a 35. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. And that's how the petty shit starts.
The
Yep.
devs that I work with, right? They've calculated some of these view bots that we encounter have to cost between 10 to 20,000 a week. Like we're talking like fully automated.
Isn't it crazy that we've been right about this shit the entire time? And nobody wanted to listen. Everybody got mad at him for saying this shit. And it was so obvious. It was so clear.
IPs are completely spread, right?
When it comes to the topic
2018.
of view botting, it's starting to become a problem everywhere. And
Yeah.
it feels kind of safe to say that no one is actually planning on doing anything about it. If any,
The companies don't want to do anything about view botting because it makes it look like they're losing momentum and losing motion. And the streamers don't want to do anything about it because they're taking advantage of it themselves in a lot of cases. Like, and this is one of the things is that people always accused me of view botting. There's a certain individual that likes to talk a lot about me view botting.
Oh yeah, who's
This
that?
is what my outlook on it is. Every view bot should be removed. Period. It doesn't matter who it's happening to. It doesn't matter whether it's somebody I like, whether it's me or somebody I don't like. Should all be removed. It's the way it is. That's the only logical position to have.
streamers seem to not really care if they get caught these days.
Bro, I'll just say this, guys. I don't give a bro. If you think view bot, listen, you think some people, guys, everybody's inflated. Like I openly admit it. I don't give. Every single person, I would say 90% of streamers inflate, guys. Okay, we're not whatever, dude.
Like
I'll tell you this, right? Is like for me, like I mean, I can't say that. I can't say I've never been view botted, but what I can say is that I've never done it like on my own or known that it was happening or caused it to happen. Like it's not like somebody told me they were going to do it or somebody I knew was doing it for me, anything like that. I never have had that happen.
Crazy, but what happens when the people who start paying creators based off of their viewership start to become wise enough to acknowledge the scheme?
And this is another big factor. He's bringing this up. I think this is a great point. And the reason why is because what he's saying is that And think about it like this. Like, I get sponsors, right? Like, think about how much of a problem boy I am. And I'm still getting sponsors regularly all the time. I'm getting sponsors. I'm turning people down. Do you want to know why? It's because people click the fucking links. And you know what else? Bots don't click links. So that's the way I see it, too.
How can anyone be sure that it's not the streamer viewbotting themselves or someone else paying to make them look like they're viewbotting? I
Right.
mean, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, was it the streamer's fault? Like, honestly,
Yes.
it's kind of hard to definitively
Was it
know
the streamer's
who to place
fault?
the blame on here. Because today, essentially, I just want to look into the accusations, old and new, and figure out if live streaming really does have a viewbotting problem.
It does.
Because
It's
it
huge.
kind of seems like it does. Because as I stated earlier, even the Kick CEO seems to think so.
We know that
One of the least botted platforms is YouTube. YouTube is probably one of the most authentic platforms out there because Google is probably, I'm not even kidding you, like probably 5 or 10 years ahead of everybody else with data analysis. Like things that Amazon is just discovering to do now with their analytics, Google did in 2010.
in live streaming, there is a lot of viewbotting. That's the reality. If we
YouTube is what
if we
matters.
banned every single person who viewbotted from the KPP program, the reality is there wouldn't be many people left. That's the reality. It's the harsh reality. It's not just a problem isolated to Kick. It's a problem with all social media.
Now, the clip that probably made the most headlines and prompted me to look
You're
into this, of course, is the clip of the CEO from Kick, Eddie, admitting that most of the Kick partner program view bots live on their Kick channel. And this happened during an episode of
Not
Kick
good.
Talk, which is a podcast hosted by Ed Craven, or Eddie, and the head of Kick Studios, who's Andrew Santa Maria. And in these podcasts, they often feature controversial streamers like Ice Poseidon, Action Man, and Fuzi.
Yeah, I'm going to go on there one of those times.
And the episodes
They
usually
actually-
just consist of them bringing up the same talking points about the
I just
future of streaming. And I wonder if they were anticipating the future was being filled with botted chatters and falsely inflated viewer counts.
Yes.
Well, I guess for all but one lone angel, who they praised on the same episode as one of the few people out there who doesn't touch viewbots
Train
at all.
wrecks.
And apparently, that's Sneeko.
We were talking about bots before. I think just a big shout out to Sneeko. I think Sneeko
My man. There it is.
is one of the few people out there
Damn.
doesn't touch any bots at all. I said this the other day, right, Sneeko?
Yep.
I was like, I won't ever say someone is using viewbots, but I will say when someone isn't using viewbots. Like,
Yeah,
Sneeko's
sure.
Not, he's legit. Like, you haven't fallen to the temptation of, increasing your metrics, and I respect that, man. I really do.
And now I'm not saying that Sneeko's the only big creator who doesn't viewbot,
Yeah,
but
sure.
he might be one of the only big creators who aren't viewbotting on Kick. Because I promise you, there are tons of other creators who are not viewbotting whatsoever. They're just not streaming on Kick.
Well, he's
For
not
example,
talking to 'em.
I would bet like 10 grand that Moist Critical does not viewbot. But obviously, creators like him don't stream on
No.
Kick, so he's kind of irrelevant to this conversation that we're
Right.
currently talking about. But prior to bringing up Sneeko,
I think that looking at it in the context of Kick is reductive. I think that Twitch has a huge viewbotting problem. It does, because whenever Twitch took viewbotting anti-viewbotting measures, the traffic for the website went down by like 15%. That's a lot.
on the podcast, they were
That's a lot.
discussing how the current landscape is and how they combat viewbotters.
Yeah.
And this is where Eddie makes this bold statement of, if we banned every single person from botting in the KPP program, the reality is there wouldn't be many people left, which is crazy. And which also goes to show that Kick seems to be this like den of thieves for some reason. There is no honor amongst Kick streamers for some
Well, they
reason.
do this on Twitch too. But yeah, you're right. And the reason why is that people want to viewbot in order to make their stream look more popular. And also, they think that there's a lower probability of them getting banned on Kick for viewbotting versus Twitch. That's the reason
Unfortunately
too.
for Kick, it just has a reputation of absolute degeneracy. So degenerates just congregate on Kick.com. And they also briefly touched on the Kick clipping program, which pays clippers based on views and how people are apparently viewbotting those as well.
So here's another question, like to follow up on the clipping stuff. Don't clippers just bot their clips to get fake view numbers?
But yeah, I think there's definitely botting.
Fake stream, fake viewers, fake clips, fake likes, fake comments. Holy shit.
Problems.
Wow.
Like I said before, right? We were talking about this before, but botting is on every platform.
I guess there's an arbitrage there. So they're getting paid more per view than what they have to pay a viewbotter to viewbot them. So,
Yeah, exactly.
again, a whole den of thieves. So I guess it's just
That's
fake
right.
viewers to wring out every last dollar from the site.
And by the way, companies do this. Companies do this with buying embeds in order to meet quantitative metrics. Why do you think that one progressive show that like Austin and Will and the Botez sisters did got 100,000 viewers? It's because they bought embeds. That's the reason why. There weren't 100,000 people watching that. That's just how it is.
Down. And again, not a great look. It's sort of confirmation of everything people have ever been alleging for years. Coming straight from the horse's mouth. And even though, I mean, Trainwrecks, you know, heavily was involved in the promotion and launch of Kick as well. I mean, his Wikipedia even lists him as a part owner of Kick. So one would think that he would have, you know, enough insider information to be able to accurately call this out.
No, the solution, see, what people don't understand about Kick is that they don't pay people for view botting. So basically, they have I don't know, I never even asked them about this, but they have a system that detects whether there are view bots, and they only pay people based off of regular views, right? Or as close as they can. So that's never somebody who's a view botter comes on the Kick and they show their KPP. They're not getting paid out like he is, or like I am, or like X is, or anybody else.
Biggest things I was confused about when I was doing my streams. I'm wondering, like, why are like streamers that are bigger than me or my size like so worried about me, right? And we're not talking about the you know, justified worrying about, you know, this and that, what content he's doing. We're talking about just like the petty bull and all the stuff that I'm learning, that I'm seeing. It's beginning to make sense.
Competition. Well, now after numerous botting scandals, multiple large streamers making their own speculations, and Eddie coming right out and saying people are starting to realize that they have been a little bit too quick to dismiss these claims.
Trainwrecks was right. He was telling us, and we didn't listen. He's been saying this for years. All the streamers are view botting, and nobody listened to him. Everyone was like, he's schizo, he's crazy. He was right. Everyone is view botting.
You know, my dad used to tell me, he told me he would watch Alinity because he liked the TV shows that she watched.
Yeah, fucking right.
He would go and say that shit. Oh, no. I like the TV shows that she watches.
I mean, like, I knew it was an issue. I knew some people bought it, right? I knew there were botting services. And I thought maybe like 20% of streamers bought, maybe 10%, but no.
But there is an important note to make when it comes to view botting, because it can be the creator themselves paying to boost their own numbers and push them, you know, higher up in the directory, because at least before on both Kick and Twitch, the way to be discovered is to have a high view count, because then you kind of get front paged. Now they're starting to do some sort of recommendation system. But historically, the more views you have, the easier it is to get recognized or to be discovered by a new viewer. People also have this like default bias where if they see that this streamer has like 20,000 viewers, they're like, oh, 20,000 people are enjoying this.
Must be entertaining.
Check out this. So that's unfortunately how the industry is. So while there's a lot of
the thing is, it's generally true, right? You take 10 1,000 viewer streams and 10 viewer streams, and I'm going to guarantee you that the 1,000 viewer streams are on average going to be more entertaining and engaging to watch. Like the problem is that it's partially true.
Things that incentivize people to view bot, there's always that possibility that someone else is view botting them in hopes of getting them either flagged or banned, or at the very least disliked by their own community and the general public. Because if your fans think that you're view botting and you can't really prove that you're not, it just kind of comes down to trust, which you know is hard to build in the generation of.
I'm gonna be honest. People accuse me of that shit. I say I don't give a fuck. Like call me whatever you want. I'm gonna just keep doing what I'm doing. Right, like this is all. That's always been my outlook on this. Is that like I never go and take this and like act like, oh my god, like I don't need to defend myself. I don't need to go and get mad and like say, oh, this isn't true. It is true. Like, why would I give a fuck? At the end of the day, I like broadcasting. I like streaming. I'm here for fun. Like I've got so much money, I can never stream again. It would never even matter. Right. So like, what the fuck am I doing trying to make this an ego thing? Really, and so like you don't need to defend it, right? That's the way I feel about it. People can call me whatever the hell they want.
Generative AI and performative morality.
So you know, you are aware of everybody who is and isn't botting.
Yeah,
I did want to talk about, but maybe we could speak on this more in the future.
No, obviously,
well, there's degrees of certainty.
Kick like has the ability, like that's how KPP works, right? KPP pays out on legitimate viewership, right? Obviously, the platform kind of knows, but again, we don't know who's botting Q, right? Like at the end of the day, like. You know, somebody else could be.
They don't know where it's coming from, but they know what's happening.
But you know, it's a tough one. But yeah, we definitely know when people aren't botting. That's for sure.
But genuinely, though, a telltale sign of someone view botting is their chat not lining up with the sheer volume of people that are supposed to be watching. See, you know, most bots watch But if you have thousands of viewers and the chat is kind of standing still, it sort of becomes obvious that they aren't real people. But that
viewership, chatbots, subscribers, follower count, etc. The amount of those that is inaccurate or incongruent
She got titties. You
without
talk about
a definitive
Alenia or
reason. Like, for
my
example,
barn
like
bitch?
my sub count is super, super low. It's because I talk all the time about how I don't care about subs, I don't want subs or anything like that. I don't even have sub badges or emotes or anything. So it would make sense that my sub badge is my subs are low. But like, if you look at me on Twitter, right? I mean, like, I will regularly get tweets that get like fucking 30, 50,000 likes. You look on YouTube, like, I'm releasing multi-million view videos on a daily, right? On Twitch, obviously I'm doing very well on Twitch. On Kick, how are we doing on Kick? Got 10,000 viewers on Kick right now. So, like, everything lines up in that direction. There's nothing that doesn't line up in that direction.
That's when you have more advanced botting services that also spam out the chat, so you have chatting bots as well. So, again, people who bot, unfortunately,
And we're
find
gonna stream on other platforms
workarounds.
too soon.
And that's why it's so hard to catch. It's a big cat and mouse problem. But in
It is.
July of 2025, Twitch published a statement announcing that it was rolling out changes that meaningfully improve their ability to identify viewbots, inauthentic viewership, and other potentially fake engagement. Dan Clancy, the Twitch CEO, also made his own statement clarifying the company was taking its time in enforcing these updates to avoid inadvertently filtering out real users.
Yeah, sure.
And of course, this had people watching the viewer data like hawks in the following
That's right.
weeks and months, hoping to see changes that confirm their suspicions. And without fail, stream stats site like Twitch Tracker showed that viewership across the entire platform started seeing a downtrend, with hundreds of thousands of live viewers going missing since August 21st. And similarly, a Twitch account called Viewermetrics started posting screenshots from their bot detector tool, causing some of the biggest streamers on the platforms like XQC and SodaPoppin to start reacting to them.
Hey,
bots with 5,000 view components entered a
Hey, what about
steady
me?
rate in the first hour.
What about me? What about me?
640 chat-connected bots detected. They were all
Nobody's
shut
talking
down
about
10
me.
minutes before the stream ended. I mean, like, Seer even. Playboy Max, whatever that is. DDG, whoever the Emaru. Neon. It's actually not a big deal. But the other ones you can see, like, 6,000.
Wait, is that like the bot police? Hold on.
Yes,
Did
the
they have
bot
like
police.
a better way to detect view bots?
Chat-connected bots with 5,000 view components and
6,000 chat. What is he looking at?
And the names and stats that kept coming out were shocking to say the least. Not because of
Why
these
was he doing that? Why is he pretending like he doesn't know? Like, is he trying to play some kind of politics? Where he's like, oh, wait, what's this? What are these graphs? What are these graphs? Wait, oh, how do you read this graph? Like, he's got, like, bro.
shining examples, but because a lot of them are top streamers, with some of the worst offenders
like LeBron,
allegedly being Neon, Blackboy Max, Emaru, and DDG. And people even pointed out the irony in the Mizkif getting angry at Emaru's viewer count being higher during that whole saga, because if they were allegedly both botting, why are you crying? Just buy more bots than her. Like, if you're
I'm in a lawsuit. No comment.
allegedly playing dirty, why not just up those numbers? That's a joke, by the way. I dislike people who bot because it just ruins it for everyone trying to play fair. But this Viewermetrics Twitter was posting as recently as December. So you have nearly half a year of exposing streamers for botting. And it appears like there's no signs of streamers slowing down on the view botting. Like, come on, is this not
why would they stop it if it works?
embarrassing, guys? But again, as I said,
No, it's not.
you
It
can't
works.
really prove anyone is botting
People
unless
would
they
stop
admit
view
to
botting
it
if it
or
stopped working.
accidentally tab out and you see some like view botting tool or website.
Imagine
Like,
that.
Many streamers have unfortunately done.
They're
and then
so
you have that
stupid.
other issue of anytime someone figures out how to detect bots, they find some sort of workaround.
Yeah, it's
and the
A/B
bots continue to get
A/B
smarter,
testing, same
and it
as
becomes
anything else.
harder and harder to discern whose community is real and whose is fake.
And my devs, or not my devs, but the devs that I work with, right? They've calculated some of these view bots that we encounter have to cost between 10 to 20,000 a week. Like, we're talking like fully automated IPs are completely spread, right? Like, the most basic view bot, every IP is going to show up from one country, if you catch my drift, right? I'm sure you can guess which country, right? But there are some complex view bots now that ping IPs, like one IP per goddamn city around the world. None of them overlap. Do you understand? There's one way we can catch them now, but I'm not going to say that way because I'm sure the view botting
Exactly.
technology
You can't tell them how you do it, because then they figure it out. They get around it.
is going to
Exactly.
learn and adapt from that. But that's the problem. You understand? People, like, I'm telling you, clout is a hell of a drug.
Like, for instance, someone who is getting a lot of view botting accompations thrown his way is currently the Burt Peanut. And he's a streamer who's recently just blown up due to
Total
short-form
bullshit.
content repeatedly going viral.
Rock, paper, scissors. Sir, are you playing off your Xbox Connect mic?
Yes.
Xbox, turn off! Worth it.
And I mean, it's easy to see why. The combination of the ridiculous
Oh,
filter with
man.
his almost obnoxious persona is quite funny. And him being a mostly expressionless peanut makes him yelling and acting like a general troll in games more, I guess,
It's funny.
endearing rather
Yeah.
than infuriating. And look, he isn't really doing anything actually that bad. It's just, you know, genuinely normal in-game griefing. But with the wrong
He's
persona,
not doing anything wrong. He's funny.
his shtick could easily rub people the wrong way. And with the
People just don't want to see people. They say the same shit about Clav now. They say the same shit about Peanut. They said the same shit about Aiden. They said the same shit about Ron. They say the same shit about Jason. They say the same shit about Lacey. They say the same shit about they said the same shit about XQC. They say it about me. Say it about Speed. Like whoever is getting motion. There are always a legion of losers that are out there looking to try to rain on their parade so these people can feel better about being losers. Like, that's the reason why.
Fighting whispers starting to
Kai,
circle him.
yep, there's
It
another one.
seems like it sort of is now.
By the way, for those of you guys who don't know, it was just a tweet on Twitter. It blew up today. Let me tell you, you know what? Dude, I was sleeping when that Twitter thing blew up. We didn't even do nothing this time. He went viral on Twitter in our sleep. That's called motion.
That's right.
Because as much as he denies them, now that people have started to find a reason to dislike him, they're starting to pick apart everything.
say
he does.
lazy?
Because
I don't think
unfortunately,
so.
that's just kind of how the internet works.
Guys, by the
People
way,
hate they hate to see somebody succeed. They hate to see somebody succeed. That's the reason why. Because it reminds them why they're losers.
be a little unhumble for a second. I don't like being unhumble. I just like hanging out with you boys and gaming, but I kind of got to. Just for like a second, guys. I call view botting the loser's topic.
That's right.
That's what I call it. You
That's
have
right.
too many viewers, not enough likes, you're view botting. You have too many viewers, you have too many likes, you're like botting. You have too many viewers, you don't have enough subscribers, you're view botting. You have too many viewers.
I'm right or you're wrong.
Too many
That's
subscribers,
it.
you're
Yeah.
subscribe botting. You have too many viewers on Twitch.
Great
you don't have
decision.
Probably
enough
short for
viewers
something
on
else.
Twitch, you're view botting on Twitch. If you have too many viewers on YouTube, but you don't have as many viewers on Twitch, you're viewing on YouTube. You can spin it any way you can. At the base of the argument, it's cope.
It's
There's
hose
no way
mad.
to prove anyone is view botting or if they're not.
But I mean, looking at his stats, they seem to be
Yo.
organic, especially when you look at
Yeah.
him compared
This
to
guy
some
sounds like a
peers.
guy that I
Not
know.
to mention, people also forget the power of short
Or
form
it sounds like a
content.
comedian,
Like, you
eh?
can take one.
You see queso pop off because of short form content. Even recently, like, I've been getting a lot of followers because of the coverage of the Epstein files that I do. Like, that's the other thing too, is like even I've been getting a lot of this. Because I've been trying to focus more on doing short form stuff too, because like I feel like I've hit kind of a ceiling on Twitch, right? I mean, like, we're always going to go up and down for whatever's happening, but like if you want to increase that floor, you got to bring in people from other ecosystems. And like that's why really like we have that Clips channel now, and that's getting like 200, 150 million views a month, right? And then you had on top of that on TikTok, holy fuck, there's a lot of people watching. So yeah, no, absolutely, that's it.
Viral TikTok or YouTube Shorts.
Queso
and that
Jinxie all popped off without getting accused of viewbotting. People accuse Jinxie of viewbotting all the time. What do you mean?
Can change
Absolutely
your
they did.
entire
We-
life,
we
and
talked
that's
about
not even exaggerating. Look at the Haktua girl. She kind of fumbled that, but see, if you capitalize on it, it can go pretty well for you. Just don't scam your fans. So as far as the guilty
Imagine
streamers go, the Burnt Peanut seems very low on my list in regards to viewbotting. But naturally, the list of the accused continues to grow, but there's only a few
Everybody
people
gets
that have
accused
actually
of
been
viewbotting.
caught red-handed
Yeah.
or live. People like Convy and Heel Mike, and the former showing a little receipt.
These guys, dude, these are like the kick streamers. Yeah, they're viewbotting.
Of 1,000 Twitch viewers,
Yeah.
and then being forced to admit it live, and then the latter going from 16,000 to 2,000 live viewers. See,
16 to 2,000? Wow, it's
just
2,000
so
more than I thought.
blatant and crazy. But then you have this clip of XQC watching Stable Ronaldo lose thousands of viewers live and call him out for his chatter rate being suspiciously low.
Wait, what the f- is this a glitch? Why does it say XQC has more viewers than me? What is he, cheating the system? What is this? Bro get insecure, he starts taking away my views.
Keep in mind, if you look at the graph here, it shows that I have more viewers than both of them. But
Oh,
that's
shit.
not a big deal.
Oh, this is weird.
I have 90%
Oh, this is
chatter
weird.
rate.
Oh, he
Yeah.
hired someone at
Right.
Twitch
Your
to take away
chat
my okay.
rate is like 30%, and you fluctuate 6K every
Watch, I just
time
ran-
an ad runs.
I just ran an ad. That's how I make my.
Oh, you can hear me. I forgot. My bad. Sorry. I'm typing it. Yo, run.
Yo, Yo, Q, instead of calling out a streamer like me, why don't you call out the real streamers? Why don't you say names, bruh?
But again, that's not really concrete proof aside from Convi. But pretty interesting that XQC makes it seem like he knows. And I think they do, because you have Train, XQC, and now Aiden Ross, all of them saying the same thing. Everyone viewbots. But when Ice beside...
We know. Ice knows it too. He's been around forever.
Accused Aiden of viewbotting. What did he do? Well, apparently agreed with him.
That's Ice, bro. I'll just say this, guys. I don't give a bro. There's nothing to say, bro. If he thinks he viewbot, listen, you think some people, guys, everybody's inflated. Like I openly admit it. I don't give. I would say 90% of streamers inflate, guys.
So I guess this is because 90% of streamers are doing it. Then you can't be mad at him for also doing it. Like
that's true, actually. Like because if everybody else is cheating and you're not cheating, then you lose. Yeah, that's what happens. That's why you need to have that's why the rules have to be fair. Because if the rules aren't fair, you get everybody cheating all the time. You don't want to have everybody cheating all the time, but like if you got somebody beating you that's cheating, and at the end of the day you're trying to get paid, like yeah, you're gonna viewbot. That's what's gonna happen.
See, that's just a horrible excuse by any measure, and disheartening when you see.
It's just a reason. That's it. It's not even. There's no morality to it, right? But you can't be surprised when somebody does that.
Nothing happening to these top streamers who continuously get called out and even caught for doing these things.
Not cheating, ain't trying.
Nothing really happens to them. So what happens when a good chunk of the viewership on streaming sites isn't even real? Well, I mean, it could easily be considered
advertisers
fraud
get
because sponsors often...
It's undeniably fraud, and if any of these sponsors take a streamer to court and it's found that that streamer was engaging in viewbotting, it is undeniably, without a shadow of a doubt, fraud. And I would even argue that embedding is still fraud, because whenever you're buying a different channel, like a sponsorship on a channel, you're buying that sponsorship in the context of understanding the nature of that channel and the viewer metrics of that channel. So like, for example, if you're buying a channel and this channel, an advertisement on a channel, and this channel is an English-speaking American and European-focused audience, and then they embed and they get a bunch of viewers from South America that don't have any fucking money, are you really getting your money's worth even though it's the same amount of viewership? No, you're not. You're getting scammed. And you're getting scammed in a way that is deliberate. You're getting because, again, it is bad faith behavior that is manipulatory or manipulative, and it is misleading. You are misleading and you are lying to somebody. That's it.
Base how much they're willing to pay based on viewership.
People don't get the way
these advertisers suddenly saying more sales, at least in percentage-wise, from the smaller creators than the top guys. I mean, even
that also makes sense for other reasons too.
Them can tell something's wrong. And I guess why would Twitch and Kick go out of their way to deter big sponsorships when they could just simply turn a blind eye to the problem? I don't know. I feel like it's only a matter of time before the system implodes on itself, because companies will suddenly stop sponsoring streamers as much.
They're paying less money now. They're paying less money, and they have different types of activation quantitative quantitative metrics. So, like for example, they're looking for activations and referral rates rather than just purely numbers.
And the people that'll really affect are the people who are playing fair, which most regularly are the smaller streamers. So massive kudos to all the small streamers who are actually playing fair and are growing organically. Because I mean, at this point, it feels like it's like every day a new streamer comes out and either accuses someone of viewbotting or just outright admits to it themselves. Because it seems like it doesn't even matter anymore, which is crazy and just sad, honestly. It's so disheartening. But hey, it'll definitely be interesting to see what the eventual fallout of all this is.
There will be no fallout. There will be no consequences. Nobody's going to get in trouble. Nothing's going to happen. It's just going to continue on as usual.
Hard to believe that sponsors are watching these clips of Eddie and Aiden shamelessly stating that most of their best and brightest are actually lying about their reach. But what can these streaming sites do to combat this without also banning people who aren't guilty? Maybe start with the people who are outright admitting to viewbotting.
It's not going to change. All it's going to do is make me go, oh, Rage is like Kai Sanat. He got 80,000 people in this
Well, no, they're going to do it because it works. That's the main reason. Like, this is what people don't understand, is they do this shit because it actually works. Like, if it stopped working, they'd stop doing it because it costs money. All right, I'm back. All right, we good?
I'll go, yo, he viewbotting. So what? It's legal. Remember, whatever.
It's not legal. It's wire fraud. If you're viewbotting and you're selling your stream numbers, you're defrauding people. It's just not even true. Like, they're legal. I don't know what you're talking about.
Think, bro.
But who knows? Maybe Kick is punishing Aiden because that's what he claims to think.
Yo, Kick is playing with me, bro. Chat, we are stuck at 8. We're stuck, bro.
Eight, now you're 9.
Let's just leave. Let's go. Let's go back to purple.
So apparently he's claiming that Kick is capping his viewership. So essentially saying they're reverse viewbotting him and he's switching.
They do that sometimes. It's true. Like, streamers will get throttled sometimes for viewership when the viewers were detected as being inauthentic.
Back over to Twitch.
That's true.
But I mean, it's not like everyone over there is also inflated.
How do I
as well.
viewbot? I don't
Who
know.
knows? But this is also coming after Aiden says that Kick is now strapped for cash and is really in some hot water with all the lawsuits going on. One of the most notable ones being the situation going on in France, where a Kick streamer passed away while doing this 24/7 stream. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what comes of this. Either way, Kick says that they pay people based on real viewership. And if the rumors that they're strapped for cash are true, they definitely need to stop paying for dishonest streamers.
They're not strapped for cash. They got plenty of money because they're getting, like, Kick's a loss leader for Stake, and Stake is a gambling website. There's no problem really there. They're going to make plenty of money, but they're going to want to make money with Kick, you know, intrinsically as well. Right? I mean, that's it.
Botting their numbers. So overall, it'll be interesting to see what happens with all this. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one in tomorrow's video. Peace.
No, I'm gonna be honest. We watch this later on, but like, I'm gonna be real. Like, this is something that I feel like it's just gonna keep getting worse over time. I do, because like now that people saw like different streamers that viewbot and they get a reward for it. Now you're going to get everybody doing it. Now everybody is going to be trying to viewbot because it starts to work. That's the reason why. Somebody accused Olivia Monroe. I don't even know who Olivia Monroe is. I'm going to be honest. This Tozy video, I watched a lot of his videos, like that Johnny Somali shit. We know him. So make sure to give it a like. I like him a lot. This guy's great. So, yeah, absolutely. And he didn't mention you, sus. I mean, I don't know. Like, people said my shit was viewbotted. I know days for sure I got viewbotted. Absolutely. But, like, I know it wasn't me that did it. So, like, what the fuck am I going to do? I don't give a shit. It's not me doing it. Who cares? Like, and also, the difference is that in a lot of these cases, if I was or if I wasn't viewbotting, I'd still be at the top of the fucking website. So even if you take away 10,000 viewers, if you take away 15,000 viewers, I'd still sometimes be number 1, right? So that's it.
Okay.
People are so mad about Steam because they've effectively created a
more and more we see this notion, we see this idea perpetuated by women that they would rather work under men. There's multiple theories thrown out there, multiple reasons to why this might be the case, but it's something that I've always found interesting because me personally, I've always preferred to work under women. Every female boss that I've had, outside of one, but they were really like a duo. They were weird. They were just goofed out, just a bunch of goofballs. But outside of that situation, every female boss that I've had has been absolutely fantastic. And they've all, luckily for me, been like around my age, like 8, 9 years older than me. We can relate, always had really good banter and stuff like that. But it doesn't feel like women get that same experience with other women.
Young, beautiful women tend to get more favorable treatment by older male colleagues.
If I am the employer and I'm a woman and there is a very, very beautiful woman beneath me, am I less likely to promote her?
I hate to say this, but I think that, yes, there is a chance that that would in fact be the case. And you hear a lot about this when you hear about the sort of queen bee syndrome, where you'll have women feeling like they're being penalized unfairly because of their attractiveness by older women. And honestly, I think that some of the things that we've seen with, women trying to protect younger women from things like sexual sexual harassment in the workplace, that some of this is actually an attempt by these women who are protecting these younger women of trying to prevent these younger women from having a resource acquisition advantage based on their beauty. Because I think that many times what you tend to see when women are trying to prevent other younger women from being sexually exploited is what's going on is you have younger women who are physically attractive and who are using their physical attractiveness as a means of being able to get, favors. The form that this generally takes is you'll have young, beautiful women, and if they have male supervisors, they just favor them because they're beautiful women. And I think that when you are an older woman and you see this going on, right, on the one hand, you can be concerned about the young women being exploited, but you can also be concerned about the fact that there might be unfairness going on and that these young, beautiful women may have an advantage that you don't have yourself because you're not a young, beautiful woman. And so sometimes I think that there are these two forces at play when we see the move toward trying to separate young, beautiful women from men in power. In part, that's, driven by genuine concern for the younger women, but then also based on a desire to eliminate unfairness based on the fact that young, beautiful women tend to get more, sort of favorable treatment by older male colleagues.
When you think about it from the woman's perspective, it's kind of deep. It's kind of deep because if you're an attractive woman, you have these men who, might treat you nicely, which is great. But most likely it's because you're attractive, right? And you go down, okay, these men, they only treat me right because I'm attractive. My female counterparts, they're going to view me as, the intellect and the hard worker I am. And they're looking at you and they're going...
I think he was for a second there, yeah.
So what, you think it's sweet over here? So you're used to getting all that favor from those men over there. You think you're going to come here and get favor? Nah, ain't no favor. It's like, damn! I'm saying you're better off being an unattractive woman. It feels like in the workplace. I mean, you're not better off. You are better off being an attractive woman because if you work under a man, you're going to get treated nicely, right? Potentially. Do you care that, a large part of the reason or a big part or, a decent minority slice of that reason is because you're attractive? Do you really care? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know.
So I've noticed many women have been saying that they've had better leadership experiences when their bosses have been white males. And I love this discussion because I find it really interesting to learn what we deem great leadership and what we think influences great leadership. But I do think that it's important for us to consider the fact that that demographic will have less internal frustration to manage. For example, if you're carrying less cumulative pressures because you have less invisible labor outside of the workplace and, structural barriers aren't working against you, surely if we're factoring in these things, then we would see that an individual would be able to approach their work and their role in a more positive way. So I think the real question is how much of a leadership temperament is personality and how much is influenced by the life load we're carrying before we actually step into our working role.
Regardless of what's happening in your outside life, good leadership is good leadership, right? So even if hypothetically these women have more external labor, that shouldn't affect your work. It may be a reason to why there are women who are saying, I would prefer a white male boss, but it's not a justification because you should leave all that shit on the outside. I think one of the biggest reasons why a lot of women, a lot of black women will prefer to work under someone who isn't a black woman, for example, is because of standard that maybe these women hold themselves to. Because they know they had to fight through whatever barriers to get to where they had to get through, they had to work, in their minds twice as hard to get to the position that they're in. They're looking at you as a black woman and they're going, yeah, you have to be as good as I am, right? So they might even treat you harsher or treat you, differently than the other women because they're looking at themselves and going, look at what I had to do to get here. And with white men, for example, maybe that feeling just isn't there. So they're just, like you said, there's less going on in their head. They're just freer. And they just treat everyone how they think they should be treated based off how they are treated and based off how their employees are working. There's no external factors or external shit going on upstairs.
There's a reason why even women don't want a woman's boss. When women are polled and asked, hey, would you prefer a male boss or female boss? You know what they say? Every single time, they say, I prefer a male boss. Why? Because with a male boss, number one, not emotional. And then number two, men tend to understand meritocracy. What's a meritocracy? The meritocracy is understanding that, okay, Tim did the best job, so he gets the most. Then, Chad did the second best. Timmy did the third best, blah, blah. So we paid him accordingly, right? With sports, it's win-lose, right? It's like, who's the best girl on the team, etc. That's the only time girls really understand meritocracy is they're forced to play sports. But the reality is, most women don't play sports. Let's be honest, they don't. Right? And if they do play games, they play like some bullshit. Hopscotch, jump rope, nothing where there's a decisive winner. When boys play, what do they play? Football, basketball. Boys play sports where there's a decisive winner. Men are inherently competitive and we understand meritocracy. Women don't, okay, for the most part. Since women don't understand meritocracy, they can't be in positions of power, okay? Because they think everybody deserves everything, yeah!
You guys know Myron Gaines is someone who I have little to no time for, but a broken clock is right.
What the fuck? I'll be right back. Damn, you leave that bitch down there for 5 seconds free. She pulls the fucking fire alarm down off the little desk thing, the little sewing desk. And she refixes the battery that I pulled out of it. And it tells on her that she's down there chewing on something.
Twice a day. And there is something to this. I can't deny it.
Listen, I am a girl's girl. I support women's rights and sometimes women's wrongs. I'll call you out on your bullshit, but I'll probably still pick your side. So what I'm about to say isn't bashing women. However, I think it's very interesting the dynamics that we have whenever it comes to having a male in leadership versus a female in leadership. A lot of people tend to say it's easier to work with male bosses than female bosses. And from my personal experience, that has been true. So recently I was working under this female supervisor in a field that I worked in before. Whenever I worked in this field before, I had a male supervisor. I remember whenever I started working in that field with the male supervisor, sometimes I worked very late nights and I would have questions. So the first time that I reached out to him, I had sent him a text. He didn't respond until hours later, but then whenever he did respond, he said, my apologies for the delay and not getting back to you earlier. In advance, if you need me, please feel free to call me. And if I don't get back to you whenever you call me multiple times. That's fine. So recently, whenever I had the female supervisor in this field that I now have experience in, I reached out to her about an issue that I came across. And I kind of felt confident that I could solve the issue, but it was just that little iffy part that I was like, okay, let me reach out to her. I texted her and she didn't respond. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to proceed and get this over with. I'm confident that I know what I'm doing, so I'm just going, it's cool. Time passes. A couple hours later, she texts me and she says, Nisha, you can't expect me to be up at this time of hour. If you need me, call me. If I don't answer, call me again. Now, I respect directness. I respect authority. But her verbiage kind of threw me off because this was the first time that I had to reach out to her. And the first time that I reached out to this male figure, he came at me with a little bit more grace. And I say that to say this, even though I do think that she could have worded that better and talked to me like I am an adult, I am almost 30, so I've witnessed my female bosses have male higher-ups and my male bosses have male higher-ups. And oftentimes, those higher ups are much more harsh and critical on the female supervisors or bosses than they are on the male bosses. And it could be for a plethora of reasons, but also, I personally have witnessed how misogyny and the patriarchy have influenced what becomes of female supervisors and male supervisors. There was this interview recently with that Mexican OT, and basically he was saying the N word, and a female was like, "What gives you the right to say that?" And that Mexican OT said, "I wish it was some men in here so I can respond." When he said that, he said it because he is physically stronger than women. He could easily dominate over these women, but he didn't want to take advantage of that situation because whenever a man enters the room, physically, he could beat up Mexican OT. But Mexican OT was basically expressing like he's not going to back down regardless of who in the room. That same type of mentality happens with male higher-ups and male supervisors. If it's a female supervisor, those male higher-ups kind of feel like physically and mentally like you can't really compete with me so I can do what I want. But sometimes whenever it comes to a male supervisor with male higher-ups, those higher-ups are like, okay, mentally, you might not be able to whoop me, but physically, you might be able to beat my ass, so let me watch my mouth. And thus, it trickles down to us seeing these male supervisors being super cool and like give us grace whenever it comes to situations, and these female supervisors being like super strict and kind of harsh in their words. I'm not saying it happens every time, but it is something that I've witnessed multiple times. You know, it's very unfortunate how misogyny and the patriarchy have generalized how we perceive women in power, and how that also makes us not want to have women in these powerful positions.
I understand what this lady is saying. So
Do
she's
you?
saying that women with male superiors are treated badly, so they treat their subordinates badly. Whereas men with male superiors are treated well, so they treat their subordinates well.
Is that what she said?
Generalization, it is anecdotal. I don't know if there's any real merit to this, if I'm being honest. I think that's a stretch. And I think that's more accountability dodging. I think that there are a lot of women in positions of power
Okay.
who have huge chips on their shoulder.
Sure, that's what she said.
You know, maybe your female boss didn't want you to be calling her because she didn't call no one. Maybe she didn't call no one on her shift. She just got on with it and she got it right and she got it done. Which is why she thinks that, yeah, this is why I am where I am. And you calling, you know, it's like, why are you calling? What's going on here? When you are told that you have to work twice as hard to get the same results, these things can manifest itself when you actually get to the position of power. These could manifest itself in ways that you might not even realize. Because if that's what you've been told, again, you're going to look at your subordinates and you're going to put that onto them as well. Especially the subordinates who, you know, they are the same demographic as you are, or similar demographic as what you are.
If you offer me a job and I find out my manager, my direct supervisor is going to be a minority, babe, keep that DEI hire and keep that job offer too. I prefer to work under white men.
Lock in, fuck niggas. We about to fact check this shit. First, if you fuck with me, make sure you hit that follow button. Let's get it. What the hell are you talking about? The first thing we need to understand is that black people, including black women, are not a monolith. And the fact that you think a white man would advance your career more than a black woman is statistically not true. First, black women are more likely to face workplace challenges than white women. Things like aggression, harassment, even discrimination. A Harvard study last year also showed that black women are more likely to leave their position when they're in a predominantly white team. Research also shows that black women are more likely to be passed over promotion. And the main reason is the leadership prototype. Leadership prototype is basically the company's idea of who's going to be leading the company.
It's that they see men in higher positions treat people like that and experience that, so they follow that example, thinking that's how to move up or maintain the power or position of power they do have. So seeing men treat other men a particular way, which causes them to treat men a particular way when they're in the position of power. Why wouldn't women do the exact same thing then, if it's just correlation equals causation? Wonder if it correlates to that women managing people who also have male bosses interact with subordinates like they have male bosses. Does either nice or mean. Yeah, I guess that's my big problem with whenever people are insinuate that like the environment affects the person. I'm just not a person who's infected. Like I I don't stay in environments that change me enough to be a different person, if that makes sense. I always have a hard time when everybody's just like, "Oh yeah, I worked in this environment and all these people were really racist to me," and I'm just like, "Well, why were you working in an environment where people were really racist to you?" And were they really racist to you, or is it all in your head? You just think people are being racist because you're a bitch or an asshole. Um, because I don't think it changes the person. Like, I've had bad bosses, and then I've followed up and been a good boss. Just like you have bad parents who have good kids. Um, I don't. I don't think it's inheritable. Whoever your manager is how you're gonna manage. It's not that actually bitter. Women feel they in the boys' club, so they act like the boys do. Like women managers' behavior is probably direct reflection of their own boss. Well, now you're speaking my language. If you said there's a woman who had a boss who did things a particular way, and she's following his lead, and his lead was to be an asshole to his employees, so she feels like she needs to be an asshole to her now employees, that makes way more sense. But it doesn't make a lot of sense for guys, to be honest. If I worked under this guy and I got promoted, I'd be like, no, I'm not going to be an asshole to the guys I just worked with. I don't care how you did it. Yeah, I think women are bad at candidates for positions of power for this very reason. There's some outliers that can be well immune to the ecosystem and still command respect and do well, and not very well. That's the nice thing about a meritocracy. If it's a true meritocracy, you don't have to worry about your position of power. You're the best at what you do, and they picked you for that reason. So eventually they become bitter because they're going against their nature. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, it's just one of those ones where it's got to be like a case by case basis. There's too many. There's too many. It's like looking at a petri dish and then adding like 20 different ingredients and then guessing which one created a reaction. I think whenever these type of conversations come up, my brain just tunes out. Because I know what the word nuance means, and I know what the word variance and I've seen different experiments done with different things, and I've tried to backtrack how that thing was caused, and it's just like the temperature. Like baking's a good example. The temperature matters, size of the pan matters, the type of oven that you have matters. There's too many things to know why my souffle deflated. Okay. And you could narrow it down over time, like you as an individual can, but you can't put it in a cookbook because everybody's got different ovens. Everybody's got different, like, I hate these conversations because they're too ethereal. That being said, it gets people thinking about it at least. No, it doesn't. That's why men probably be more flexible in how they lead, because they can set their own example. But a meritocracy that works for women has to be super individual, because women will always make it social and extrapolate patterns without full data or assume stuff. Yeah. I wish there was like a sci-fi movie about how women's brains works as far as like social connections, but the effects of it were exaggerated. Because I think it would give simple guys a good idea of like what it would be like to like see things from a different value structure. I've been like, oh, I'm gonna go into work today, and instead of thinking about, oh, how can I do my best work job, the thing I'm being paid to do, they think, oh, Stacy's gonna want to have lunch again, and I hate Stacy. Like, The fact that that's where her brain goes first thing when she walks into work is, oh, I have to have lunch again because she's gonna want to have lunch again. Oh man, I'm gonna have to share my tater tots with her. I'm like, holy shit! How are you not thinking about doing your job quicker and easier and faster and better, so that you could not do your job? So you could literally just sit on your ass all day and watch YouTube videos or do something else that you enjoy. My brain cannot comprehend. But a sci-fi movie or a Marvel movie or some bullshit like that, I'm sure they could do it in a way that like guys would be like, oh, okay, so we're just different. We have different values. We have different priorities. We're just different. But at least they get like an example of what the other side looks like. Isn't that one master movie that's bits and pieces? Yeah, I agree. I think there needs to be a master movie of like the gender war or something like that. And it's like, it's 2040 and men and women have finally gone to war. So they created like super versions of themselves. So I don't know how the women would win, but they have to win somehow. Maybe they try to seduce all of us and tell bad rumors about our small penis. And they win over our grandma somehow. And then our grandma is against us. And at that point, we just kill ourselves, which is probably how that movie would end. Male suicide. Okay. You get the point, though.
Company or even management. In most companies, leadership prototype is a white man. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say that your white boss did not help advance your career. And for a black woman to have that, that's a tremendous thing. I'm glad that you had that. But that's your experience. And to use your experience to note that black men do better jobs at advancing black women's career is literally anti-black.
I feel like I watched the original
You do what
video before.
Alex
I don't
do
remember it though.
and piss off on everyone else. You do watch movies all the time. Yeah, exactly.
I would agree with what this guy is saying. But
It's a good brain
a
right
lot
there.
of women who speak about working under a female boss, they're not really talking about advancing their careers. They're just talking about enjoying their job. In reality, one of the many factors to why there aren't many like female managers and female CEOs, females in these higher up positions, is because we know jobs for the boys is a real thing. Promotions a lot of the time are about relationships. It's easier to create a relationship with someone who's like you, right? You guys come from the same background, the same dynamic. You're both white men. You're both men, right? It's easier to build a bond, to become friends. Promotion. If you're a woman, it's more difficult to build that kind of bond, that kind of relationship. Find that common ground with a manager who's a male. So yes, the idea that a black woman would be more likely to advance her career under a white man, it's actually probably the least likely. Because those two demographics have the least in common, generally speaking. That isn't what a lot of these women were talking about. They were just talking about job enjoyment, enjoying their job.
god, there's nothing on here. Oh.
Wait a minute.
This is feminism, people. All the women on the panel claiming to be Christian. You can't be a Christian and be a feminist at the same time. Feminism is antithetical to Christianity. Feminism is evil.
Oh, okay. Well, going around the table, Jason Cassell, thank you so much for the TTS. Really appreciate it. Do you consider yourself a feminist?
No,
No?
not really. Yeah.
Hell.
No?
Depends on how you define it, but no.
Okay.
No.
I would say yes, but then if I was asked by a feminist, sometimes they don't think sex workers can be feminists, so it depends.
Yeah. Okay. What about you?
I'm anti-feminism.
Anti-feminist, okay.
Same here, anti-feminist.
Yeah, anti-feminism.
Anti-feminist. All right, we'll come back to the feminist conversation.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I was just for Chair 3. What do you think? I want to know this. What do you think submission means? What does that mean to you? Submission.
Like
Submission
listening
to your husband.
Like, yeah, respecting your husband, respecting their final decision making. I mean, obviously it depends on the situation, but typically trusting their decision making.
Then you're deciding when to be submissive, and ultimately you're not being submissive.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, hang on. Before you get into it, I just want to make sure that, because I think it's a fair.
Oh, the age-old question of who's really in power.
Do you think that submission means obey?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, obey. And obedience?
Yeah.
Or submission?
Yeah.
Okay. So then, why would you, I guess following that line of reason, would it be submissive or non-submissive to question your husband's authority on a major decision?
Well, it's not that I wouldn't listen. It's that I would want to have a conversation about it. And I think most decisions can, I don't think and obviously there's some situations that we addressed that there does need to be an urgent decision that should be made by the husband. I think most major life decisions can be talked about before they're decided on.
I agree they can be. What I'm asking you to reconcile is your definition of submission being also obedience, obeying, trusting, doing, and reconciling that with the idea that there needs to be X to placate you if there's even a major decision which happens. Can you tell me how that fits your definition of submission?
Sorry, what do you mean by that? Like, you're asking what?
If you question the authority of your husband by demanding a conversation with something he doesn't want to converse about, rather wants you to be obedient in, how does that form to your version of submission? How's that you being submissive?
I wouldn't necessarily question and demand a conversation. I think just in general, it could be problematic if a guy is not seeking discussions with his wife, though, because the initial example that was brought up at the very beginning in the clip was you're moving in 3 weeks and you come in and you say that. I don't know why you could not immediately after have a discussion. Hey, how are you feeling about this? Instead of coming in and just throwing it on her.
Perhaps you can, but the idea here isn't what can or can't do. The idea here is what is submission, what is not.
Yeah.
Is it actually submission if he says, listen, I know that you probably have all sorts of protests here, but I don't want to hear them. I want you to instead execute and obey what it is that I'm expressing to you that I want done, to obey my will. Are you then submitting or not submitting by saying, no, we need to stop right now and have a conversation about this?
I'm not saying I would stop and say, hey, let's have a conversation. I might want to, and you can submit to your husband, and I can also still think that he should have a conversation with me about these things.
Yeah, sure. You can say that you think that he should, but the idea there in the clip then, when you had a criticism, you just countered the criticism because you said, no, I'm not saying that I would actually question it. That is submission, and that is exactly what I expressed. Submission is obedience.
Right, yeah, no, I'm saying I would absolutely submit to that, but no, my issue is this idea that guys should not be just making decisions. Sorry, I know you want to talk.
Oh, no,
as a person who doesn't care what they have to say all the time. I don't think that there's decisions where that's obviously there are some, but in general that's not necessary. So I'm just pointing out that if a guy is doing this on things that can be talked about, that's an issue.
Well, then that's countering the trust that women should have in faith in men.
No,
The thing is that inside of a Christian marriage, you're supposed to have trust and faith that your husband's leading you correctly, and trust and faith in his authority. When you say things like this, like, no, he needs to stop and have a conversation with you, he needs to justify it to you, he needs to make arguments to you for it, things like this, you're actually countering the view. It's actually, what it does is it inverts it. It inverts the view of what submission is actually supposed to be. It's obedience to your husband. It's really inside the Christian view, at the purview of the man to make these decisions. And that, I think, women should be reinforcing, who are Christian women. They should be reinforcing that idea of trust in your husband. Trust in your husband. Trust in your husband. And they don't. Instead, they resist submission at every level because they think it's mean. They just quote mean, you know. It's like, that to me is absurd.
I have a question for you, Andrew. So, question is it submission if, like, let's say, you know, you're like, oh, we're going to move, the husband goes, oh, we're going to move to Nevada in 3 months. And then the woman's like, okay, I'm going to pack both of our stuff now. I just need you to tell me, like, why as I'm packing. I don't need, like, I'm going to do it either way. I just need to know the reason. Is that
Is it dumb argument he's proposing? He doesn't have it right.
cool?
Yeah.
Is that submission?
Well, actually, this is a great question. I understand what
Yeah,
you're asking.
yeah.
Let me
I'm
repeat
doing
it
it.
back to make sure. Yeah, let me repeat it back to make sure. So he says, look, we're moving in just a couple of weeks, right? You need to pack everything up.
I'm doing
and you go, okay, I'm packing it up, honey. Right? Now tell me why we're doing this again.
Yeah.
Right? Got it. So here's the thing. Let's say you do ask that question. He says,
Yeah, this is the weird thing about these questions is that there's a bunch of like, man, nuance has been a real thing with me lately, but I just see it everywhere where I'm just like, oh, you're just leaving out a bunch of nuance and trying to aim for like that 51%. 51%, man, I don't know. That means 49% of people would go the other way on your answer. And like, yeah, you have the majority, but it's so fucking close. Blind obedience isn't submission either. Unless I'm wrong, you tell me. No, submission's a tricky one. It's like a tree. So first of all, the woman has to magically be okay with the guy. She doesn't have to like him per se. She just has to be okay with him. And then the guy has to magically make her trust him. And there could be little things like it happens in workplaces all the time where they're like, hey, Robert, you're always on time with your report. You know, it could be stupid stuff like that. Or it could be like real shit. Be like, hey, you guys are dating and he came to all the dates. Like he never ghosted you. He never didn't text you back. He never did any of those things. So there's trust being built there. So first element is she has to initiate. Otherwise you're nothing. You're just a dude. You're just a loner. You're just a weirdo. So she, you know, it's a tree. So she likes, he likes, obviously. He doesn't even have to like, to be honest. He could have his own reasons in his head for why he wants to be with her. Doesn't really matter. But after the trust is there, then it's a matter of keeping it. And submission for me is the continuation of that trust. So it'd be like, hey, we're going to go move in a week from now. And like, in your mind, you can do one of two things. You can be like, I don't want to move. Why should I move? Or you can be like, okay, if he says we're going to move, we're probably going to move. Like, we've been to Vermont. We've been to a bunch of other places. Like, there's a good possibility that we're going to move. Like, you might have more questions. But you're going to assume that, like, I said we're going to move because of something, like, real. Like, you know me. I'm not stupid. I'm not moving. I'm not giving up this house. I'm not selling all this shit. I'm not getting on my, you know, my bullshit just for no reason. Like, you know me and you trust me. And so if I'm like, hey, we're going to move, the real question isn't like, oh, are you just doing as he says without question? The real question is, in the moment he says, "Are you gonna move?" Do you believe him? Like, do you believe that for yourself that you're moving in a week, in that moment, or do you think maybe we're not moving in a week? Like maybe you're gonna say some dumb shit, and I'm gonna say, "Yeah, that's not true," so we're not moving. It doesn't even have to be some dumb shit. It can be some wrong shit. He could be like, "Hey, there's gonna be a flood here in a week," and you could be like, "Honey, there's not gonna be I saw it on Facebook. That was AI," and you're gonna be like, "That was AI? Man, they're getting real good these days." And it's okay, honey. You know, everybody gets tricked by AI. Even that amount of doubt of being like he's dumb enough to fall for an AI flood. No, man, even that's too much. What's a really good example? Like, it has to be something so tragic that you're gonna have to leave. I don't know. Maybe they have an ex-partner who found out where they live, and they sent them a threat that he was gonna kill. I'm gonna kill you and your wife, and I'm gonna rape your dogs. And you're like, "What the fuck? You're gonna rape my dogs? Just take my wife." No, I'm just kidding. And you're like, "Yo, we're moving in a week because like you no longer feel safe living in that house, and you don't want them to rape your dogs, and kind of you kind of care about your wife, but no, I'm just kidding. You don't want anything bad to happen to your family. So you're like, "Yo, we're moving." So in that moment, is she like, "Oh shit, we're moving"? She can ask more questions. She can be like, "Hey, you should figure out." She can do all the things in her head that it's gonna pop in there. But in that moment, in that split second of being like, "We're moving," and you see him, and he's just like, "Yeah, we're moving in a week," and you're like, "Fuck, we're moving in a week," or are you like, there's some room here. Like we'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. It'll be okay. Or are you just like, "Oh fuck, if he's like this, we're done. We're cooked. Our dogs are raped."
No.
Why? What, is it legal stuff?
No. Don't say no. Just say, he says no.
Yeah.
What is your role in the Christian view? You say, "Can you tell me why?" And he says, no.
I would be scared if it was it legal? Like, if it's another woman, I don't care. We'll pack up and leave. I don't, whatever.
Sure.
Like,
So he looks at you and he says, "No, it's not legal."
oh,
there you go.
Then I'm like, okay, like, then whatever. Okay, if it's not legal, then cool. We're not like skipping town,
Yeah, okay. So then you're gonna.
Okay, if it's not legal, then whatever. Like, I don't care. I've lived out of a bag for like 10 years, anyways.
Yeah, got it. But what I'm saying is that within the purview of submission, right?
Is that
the fact that you even had to ask him if it was legal is also moving against your idea of trust.
Really?
It's moving against
No
the idea
way.
of trust and the authority of your husband.
Well, then wait. Question. I got a question for you. What if I like pre-planned like in advance, in a sense where I was like, hey, on a date with him, before we were even married, and I was like, hey, if you ever needed to skip town, the husband goes.
Okay. In the context of what I said, let's see if it fits Andrew's thing though. Because I think he's playing a dumb game here where he's asking like a too broad of a question without enough examples. But I think his definition might still fall under my thing. Like, it could go either way.
Goes, oh, we're going to move to Nevada in 3 months. And then the woman's like, okay, I'm going to pack both of our stuff now. I just need you to tell me, like, why as I'm packing. I don't need, like, I'm going to do it either way. I just need to know the reason. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Is that submission?
Well, actually, this is a great question. I understand.
Yeah,
what you're asking.
yeah.
Let me.
I'm doing it.
Back to make sure. Yeah. Let me repeat it back to make sure.
So she's like, "Yeah, I'm doing it. Like, I'm packing right now." I'm just like, "Hey, why are we doing this again? Like, is there anything I should know about? What are we taking? How light am I packing?"
So he says, "Look."
But she seems to understand the concept, where she's just like, "Oh yeah, okay." So I'm doing the thing, but up front it feels like, oh, she's just doing the thing because he told her to, and I'm like, no, she's made the calculation in her head whether or not she's listening to this guy or not already. So she's just like, hey, all my thinking around safety stuff, or moving our house and family, I already put it in his brain and made it up to him. I figured out a long time ago that I could trust him on these types of things. And now this doesn't extend to everything, by the way. Just FYI. There's lots of things you should never trust you're dominant on, or you're submissive on, to be honest. Either one. But you guys normally sort that out pretty early.
We're moving in just a couple of weeks, right? You need to pack everything up.
I'm doing
it. Go, okay, I'm packing it up, honey. Right? Now tell me why we're doing this again.
Yeah.
Right? Got it. So here's the thing. Let's say you do ask that question. He says no.
Why? What, is it legal stuff?
No. Don't say no. Just say, he says no. What is your role in the Christian view? He says, you say, can you tell me why? And he says, no.
I would be scared if it was it legal? Like if it's another.
Oh man, see, she had it. She understands the concept, but she doesn't understand the underlying feeling that should be connected to that concept. And you can tell this happens a lot with subs, is that they'll have a good dom, who's actually a good dom, like he's actually a good guy and he's doing all the right things, and so they see the outside of I obey, nice things happen. And so it's just like a dog thing. It's like a surface level thing, but without having to explain and have actual difficulties in your dynamic, it's hard to get the feeling installed there. Because what she should be is, if he says no, she has to assume there's a good reason why no. Like he's not gonna, you know, if she's correct, if she picked the right guy, if she did all the right things and he's proven up until that point she can trust him, she should continue to trust him, and be like, okay, like if you can't tell me right now, I hope you can tell me later, but if you can't say, then okay. Like, I think even attitude around that is probably fine. Like the actions should be what matter. You know, there's probably some people who would disagree with me, but
woman, I don't care. We'll pack up and leave. I don't, whatever.
Sure.
Like,
so he looks at you and he says, no, it's not legal.
Oh,
there you go.
Then I'm like, okay, like then whatever. Okay, if it's not legal, then cool. We're not like skipping town, you know?
Yeah, okay. So then you're gonna assume.
Okay, if it's not legal, then whatever. Like I don't care. I've lived out of a bag for like 10 years, anyways.
Yeah, got it. But what I'm saying is that within the purview of submission, right?
Is that
the fact that you even had to ask him if it was legal is also moving against your idea of trust.
Really?
It's moving against
no
the idea
way.
of trust in the authority of your husband.
Well, then wait. Question. I got a question for you. What if I like pre-planned, like you know, in advance, in a sense where I was like, hey, on a date with him, you know, before.
Yeah, he's wrong. It's okay to ask questions. Like, but he's assuming she's asking questions from the point of view of the person who thinks they can change the other person's mind and thinks they're not making the right decision. So when she says, oh, is it legal things? Because if it's illegal, then I'm not going to do it. Like, that's what he's thinking, she's thinking. But that's not what she's thinking. She's thinking, like, how can I help, essentially? The more information I have, the better I can serve you. So if you can tell me if this is like a legal thing, then I'll be like, oh, okay. Or if this is an illegal thing, well, I'll be doing some different stuff, all right? I'll be doing some sketchier stuff. Like packing light, taking your passports, having cash already withdrawn and hidden.
We were even married, and I was like, hey, if you ever needed to skip town, can you just let me know? My rule is to let me know, is it legal involved? If it's legal involved, then
So you mean you set down some boundaries that you had with the
before I even get married?
Yeah, early on.
Yes.
Right? Do you expect him to adhere to the boundaries that you?
I would hope so. Yeah, because I'm going to adhere to all mine.
No.
Oh.
That's
what?
not submission.
What? No way.
That's right.
Come on, it's a bit earlier.
Not submission. Submission in the
But can he just tell me if it's legal or not?
Submission is the obedience to your husband.
I know, but what about the law?
It's obedience to the husband. Listen, I'm gonna try to explain this the best way I can. Inside the Christian view, even if.
Yeah, see, this is where like BDSM and Christianity just take part. Like they just go two different ways, with how submission works. They take the God point of view where no matter what, God is, you know, you just need to be obedient and do the thing. It's like complete submission. It's which it should be like a different thing. Well, I guess we stole it from Christians, to be honest. We should have called ours something else. Like submission, because it can't be that complete. It can't be that complete and still have like a functioning partner on the other side, like a functioning equal of, of at least ability, if not equal in all ways. Such a shame, man. I get it. It's a very, like, if this was the 18th, 17th century, it would make sense. Like, things were way more dire, so the times where people could fuck up was way worse than it is now. So like the errors were so much more catastrophic for your family if, like, if your wife's like, why? I don't want to do it. Am I expecting a phone call from one of your things? One of your Am I expecting a phone call from somewhere you applied? Wait, is this you? This is you. Did you call me? Are you still watching? You calling from a weird fucking phone number? Catch me tripping?
Pre-marriage, you had some discussion about whatever it was, right? But here's what is put on the man's shoulders in the Christian view. He's to put his life before the lives of his wife and before the lives of his children. He's to accept all danger. They get the lifeboat, right? He doesn't get the lifeboat. He stays behind, right? If they're marooned on a desert island, he's the one who gets eaten and not them. Okay? If there's any sort of defense of the nation which comes up, his duty and obligation is to go and take care of that problem. Mm-hmm. By the way, these are not the only duties that they have. That's just some, but the starting level of security at the home starts with the husband and the head, who is the husband. If they are providing those duties and providing those resources inside the home, as they're supposed to do inside of the Christian view, right? Their wife's job is to submit to the authority. If he's holding up his end, right? His end of the authority here, you're supposed to be holding up his end of the authority, period.
Okay, well, we'll go, quick question, last one. So what if we made this thing where I was like, okay.
Hello? Is this you? Oh my god, you freaked me out. I was like, who is this? Fucking Dr. Rachel Shell. I was like, who the fuck?
Okay, if we ever need to skip town, move, whatever, could I just be like this, and then if you do this, then I know it's not legal?
Yeah,
so I'm not an accomplice?
Like Like, you can put in the request for any high sign that you would want.
Okay, I'll just be like this, and if he goes like this, I'm like,
listen,
cool.
you can put in a request, but that's the opposite of submission to make a demand that he obeys your authority. A husband is not obligated to obey the authority of their wife. The opposite is the case.
I just went like this, and legal. Like, is this
but
legal?
what if they respond with this? You know? Their authority, right? It's their authority.
Even if it was legal, I'd be like, cool, do I get a lawyer? To help us?
And I gave you my high sign, right?
I would want to know if it was legal. If it was legal, it's fine. I'll just get a lawyer. That's fine. I just want to know, do I make the call?
No, you don't have any trust or faith in your husband?
I do. I do have trust. I just want to know if it's legal.
If you have trust, then trust.
But the legal...
Do you know why that makes so much sense? Because the idea here is that if the man is taking the head, the Christ head here, the role, right? The same way you're supposed to trust and have faith in Christ is the same way you're supposed to trust and have faith.
So I'm going to assume it's not legal.
Yes.
Okay.
You're supposed to. I
Yes.
If
Okay.
you chose that,
I just thought an immediate
trust. Yeah.
As long as it's not illegal, I'm cool. I don't care. I can live anywhere.
Think about how easy it'd be too to trust in a man who's taking on the role of dying for you. Like you're like your husband is supposed to love you as Christ loved the church, and Christ has died for you. So I think it'd be really, really, really easy to take in that submission role and take on that submission role when you know that he loves you enough to die for you.
Yeah, I'm cool, but he knows that I'm going to do this at one point.
Wait, I do have, going around the table on that note, the man being willing to die. Should your boyfriend, say you've been dating for a year, should your husband be willing to die, take the bullet for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
the answer should be no from all
Only
these
if
women.
he wants to. Yeah.
Okay.
It should be no.
Willing to, yes.
And then
Willing
the
to,
answer for all the
yes.
guys should be
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The guys should be like, yeah.
And then
Yeah, it's my
if
job. And the
a
women should
guy
be like, no,
wasn't
it's
willing
not
to,
what I want for him.
like, what's your response? Like, if he's like, nah, I'm not doing it.
Then why are we dating?
Why are we dating?
dating?
Okay, he's got to give his life.
He's obviously not fulfilling that role.
Not fulfilling that role.
No,
okay.
I think as Christians we should be willing to take the bullet. Like I'm willing to take a bullet for most people. Like I think that it's pretty selfish
but
to
in
not.
a situation, you said man. The man should take the bullet.
Yeah, I mean I think everyone should I would take a bullet for my husband too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah, but like,
But that's actually beating up your own biblical role again, right? So
I
the
wouldn't.
idea here is
I would take a bullet for him.
the reason.
Of course,
you're not
Andrew's mad at me for
demonstrating-
wanting to die for my husband.
Look, I'm not even trying to be. I'm beating up the ideology, not you personally. The things that you're saying here don't make any sense. Even from the Christian role, that would be incorrect. He should step in for all threats towards his family. That is his ultimate duty unto not only fulfill to his family, but unto God. He's supposed to. You don't have to.
Yeah, but I want to.
And here's why you shouldn't.
And I
Here's
think
why
we
you
should.
shouldn't Even. Hang on. Here's why you shouldn't even. Because the idea is you're a caretaker for the children, this kind of thing, right? These roles are set for a specific reason, right? But all of this usually comes down to just a paltry excuse for egalitarianism and refusal to submit to your husband's authority. And so you come up with all sorts of crazy mental gymnastics to try to justify egalitarianism, why we need to be more equal, why the husband and wife need to have a fair shake against each other. No, the Christian view, submission of the wife to the husband. Husband leads and is in authority.
Just look that way. Okay. Wait, I had to follow up on this. What? I guess my confusion is there was a lot of pushback on this whole.
What do you mean a quiver?
Oh, the man, like you don't want to be submissive to your husband, but you want him to die for you? Like, does that seem like a fair? Like, the least a man can get, I suppose a Christian man can get, is if he's willing to die for you, if he's going to provide, if he's going to protect, you should at least obey him. That's a way better. That's like way better trade-off. I just have to obey. You have to die. Shit, if somebody gave me the choice, none of y'all are gonna date me after this. If I have to obey if the choice is, okay, Brian, you got to obey somebody or you die, I think I'd rather obey somebody. Now I'm gonna get called a beta male, whatever. Fine, I accept the beta male title. I will survive and whatever. I think the woman should take the bullet because I'm better suited to, after breastfeeding, I'm better capable. Maybe breastfeeding the women are better at. Can you milk a man? I don't think you can milk a man.
There are
actually doing like
I heard,
breastfeeding
yeah,
for
that there's
kids.
like,
You can milk 'em in.
there's
Not
you can
naturally.
lactate.
Males do lactate.
Yeah.
There are males do lactate. Yeah.
Males lactate.
You can milk a man. Wow,
Yep.
that is
You
disturbing.
have to like do like
That's
take
disturbing.
drugs for it.
There was a big to do because there was a group of the T's who pumped themselves full, in fact, of various hormones so that they could lactate more. And there was a big controversy over what the quality was of what they were putting out there. And when it was scientifically tested, it was not good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Shocker.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think, shit.
Sorry, can't
If
do
the
it.
guy's got to take a bullet for you, it's a fair trade-off. You gotta listen to what he says. You gotta listen to him.
Somebody in your chat said man milk. That's so gross.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like an actual drink.
We have some chats here on YouTube side we need to get through. Oh, Andrew, this is Rachel Wilson's wife. Maybe we need a little cameo if she's feeling up to it. Andrew listens to me often, but what's best for him is what's best for me. Therefore, in situations where he doesn't want my input, he isn't obligated. Obedience to your husband is obedience to God.
Well put, Rachel. This is interesting because I never seen this type of dynamic. So to me, it's like I'm looking at it through a bush, like just kind of peeking around, like, whoa, this is cool. Like, I never heard of this stuff before.
There you go. Yeah, that is Andrew's wife, Rachel. We have Beaton.
My slave.
Andrew's slave, yes. Beaton Cheeks
And I
here.
keep her chained specifically to the stove. She is allowed to come out on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for sunlight. I'm a very benevolent minister.
Is she a vampire or not a vamp because of the sunlight? Never mind. Okay.
Yeah, I give her some sunlight. Come on.
Yeah, of course. Bean Cheeks, I love how these boss babes, parentheses feminists, want a simp, not a man. Being a boss babe is not only unchristian-like, but against the Christian patriarchal view of maintaining a healthy family dynamic. Why would you feminists want another person to watch over your kids? Does anybody want to do a response to Beaten Cheeks? Morgan, do you want? Sorry, it's not Maddie. My bad. Right?
Maddie's right.
Sorry, the M's got me all fucked up. Maddie, my apologies.
I feel like we've talked about this a lot of times.
Sure.
Doesn't need to be recapped again, but yeah.
Okay.
If it was, I think, the situation, it would benefit the kids to be at home. I didn't need to work in any sense of the word. I would stay at home and work. I've said that.
Okay.
People are gonna have different opinions on that, and that is 100% okay with me. Boss babe, it is.
Wait, sorry, boss babe it is? What do you mean?
Yeah, they can call me that. It's great.
Oh, okay. All right. He follows up by saying, I will ask the famous Andrew question. If men are supposed to be providers and protectors to not only their family, but to provide society something significant as their duty, what duties do women bring? What do you women bring to the table? Are you virgins? If not...
Actually, this is a fantastic question brought up by Beaten Cheeks. So he's asking this, and maybe we can go around the panel on this. If it is the case that men's job in society is to procure resources, so think of it from a bird's eye view. The whole world's a bunch of warring tribes, which is exactly what it is, between different nations, countries, things like this. If it's the men's job to procure resources, refine resources, distribute resources, and it is their job to defend the nation and defend the social security inside of the nation, so the security of all people. What is the equal role that women have in society to that? That's his question. It's a good question for the panel.
Yeah, why don't we start? We'll start on this side. What do you think?
I don't know. To be honest, I believe like from the dawn of time, we're gatherers. They're hunters. We're supposed to just be at home. And I mean, I love traditional wives. Abigail. Respect. I want your life. I want the life. Honestly, yeah, because once I get married and I have kids, I truly believe because I chose that man and I already know his mindset enough to like choose him. So I need to trust him because obviously that's why I chose him. I would not just get with a man that I did not trust. So I mean, yeah, blind's eye view. Like I would just kind of respect him all the way because I got to know him before we married.
Hang on, Chair One. What about to the question though? What is the equal responsibility to society that is equal
to society
set down for men? The equal responsibility that women have to that responsibility that I laid out that men have.
Why should you vote? That's the real question. Why
I
vote?
guess just keeping the home, keeping the kids, keeping everything stable on that side.
All right, let's get somebody else. Go ahead. What about you?
I would say it's nurturing, raising a family, teaching kids good principles, good morals, teaching them about the Bible. I think that's really important, as well as not providing, sorry, people would blame me, like cooking, taking care of the home as well. But overall, just ensuring the well-being of husband, kids, and the home. But men have to match up to that life as well. And I feel like that's also something in modern day that we do not see a lot. And so...
Okay.
In a perfect world, it's easy to talk about, here's the line, let's divide it, but it's not always that way.
True.
No, I agree with you guys that motherhood is absolutely an amazing gift and something that is obviously
Because
essential
babies?
to society.
That's your
Obviously,
answer?
not every
Because
woman,
babies?
though,
I mean, it's a good answer.
is called to be mother. Some women never get married, and that doesn't mean that they are less valuable to society. And so you can absolutely still provide amazing value to the world as not a mother. But I do agree that motherhood is a amazing thing, amazing gift.
So motherhood would be what you would say would be the equal responsibility on women to the responsibility socially that men have.
Well, I think that women who aren't married or just don't have kids yet, I still think that they have a responsibility to give value to the world in other ways.
What are those ways? I'm curious.
For instance, my job right now is working full-time in the pro-life movement. And I think that's something that I've been called into.
So that's still based around motherhood, though.
Wait, I have a quick question on that. If your husband said, hey, this advocacy that you're doing is fantastic, but, like, you want to have kids, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And he said, well, once you start having kids, got to cut that out. I'm a pro-life husband, whatever. But your work in that organization must cease. Do you listen to him?
I would if he absolutely made that decision, but no, my husband supports me continuing my work when we do have kids because I love what I do and it's great.
Well, that's important work.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that women are I believe that you're supposed to live as you're not going to get married, and because some people aren't called to be married, and so I'm going to live in that way. But then let's say I do get married.
Well, hang on. I'm really sorry to cut you off. I don't mean to do this. The only reason I'm doing it is because this is a very specific question, which is not tailored to you individually as people, as the person. So I'm not asking you,
I see what you're saying.
this
Okay,
question.
yeah.
So I'm going to repeat the question. Men's job in society is to procure resources, refine resources, distribute resources. Every single job skill that you look at will provide this for you, right? 95%, 96% in many cases, 97%. Things like electricians, things like oil rig operators, things like construction workers, right? The people who go out and actually procure resources, basically all men, almost all of them. Seems to be what their social and societal role is. That is the
Can't
case.
watch,
They
it's
are to
okay, it's
protect
okay.
society and
Let your
provide
stuff charge.
resources on behalf of women and children in society. What is the equal social duty that women have to that?
I think caretakers and nurturers, whether that's in their communities and the people that they're around in their churches, and then for those men.
Okay.
Well, you're back? Okay.
Quick answers
Olivia.
if you can.
I mean, I guess I didn't really grow up in a nuclear family, so I don't really, this is...
It has nothing to do with you.
Okay, yeah.
Prescriptively, what do you think socially women?
I guess they
have
could.
as a duty
I did
on
babysit when I was younger, so I would say that, yeah, I guess they could nurture my mom. Yeah, it has nothing to do with me, so never mind. That wouldn't pertain. But
okay.
Yeah.
So again, back to motherhood nurturing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Having kids and making sure that they're raised properly with a good moral foundation, and then they're also educated properly because the education system is
next.
Yeah.
Providing relief and nurturing and stuff. We prepare the men for war.
Makes sense to me. Next.
Yeah, well said. I think an ideal society has nuclear families everywhere. So fostering a nuclear family, raising your daughter up, and the way that we have described women need to be, and raising your son up in the way that you described men need to be, would be.
So then we essentially have universal agreement almost on this panel that the social obligation for women is based around motherhood and raising generation of children, in some way participating towards that. That seems to be the social obligation that you universally agree on. However, here's the problem. In all Western nations, and almost all nations in fact, but the West particularly, we're not at reproductive rates to replace our society at all. We are under replacement across the board, which means that women are failing in this social duty of both reproduction and the assistance towards the ends of reproduction, which, by the way, all of you on this panel agreed is the social equal of what men are providing for you. However, men are upholding their end, which is the procurement, refinement, distribution of resources, and protection of society. So the question boils down to this. Since this is the case, what do you think should be done that's not based around
corporal?
Well, actually, we'll just make it easy. What do you think should be done?
Okay, so many people disillusioned with traditional identity, like because they never had it, or if they did, it was fucky. So they say, ew, anything but that. Very sad. True.
So that women go back to this idea of role of reproduction in society, in this social role of being matrons and raising the next generation, since you think that's the social duty. Go ahead.
So I actually had a video. I don't know if you've seen this interview ever, but U2, Bono is very political, and he did an interview I think a couple years ago, and it said America is a very young country, and it hasn't developed its structure quite yet. And I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but this interview is online, and he talks about how America is so young that it's going to eventually, within the next 100 years, develop its that type of a structure, like its family structure, its political, each country is, every country.
But this issue, the reproduction issue, is in the entirety of all Western nations, regardless of age.
Of the United States, though, right? United States?
All of them, including the United States.
Okay, do you...
But there's other nations which okay, so
have been longer?
The United States, my understanding is the United States.
It's young.
Is actually the oldest current established nation, with its original established foundational constitution. It's the oldest one that exists currently.
I see the Pilgrim vibes coming from the back.
Now, other nations, which you could argue are
China.
much older, like England or the UK, things like this, sure, but they suffer from the same reproduction crisis.
Really, I know Japan, and
all of them.
I think there's just I mean, I have a personal opinion about Japan in a sense where I feel like there's a lot of shame for the man to carry a lot of the how do I say it, financial and responsibilities, and if anything happens, then it's dishonor to him. And
how do you assist? So why won't women fulfill their social roles?
Why won't women fulfill their social roles?
Yeah, their social roles of reproducing, having the next generation, and assisting with that, which is what all you agreed, is the social role that women have if men are going to be providing all of this for them.
I think there's a communication issue, between not between me and you or anything, but there's a communication issue between men and women. I think that and this is just, I've taken polls from my own life and also other situations and scenarios that I've heard of and seen just over the course of my 32 years. I think that the problem is the whole ghosting thing. That shouldn't even happen. That's going to kill a culture. Same thing with cancel culture. That's going to kill a culture. You gotta, if you don't want to talk to somebody no more, you need to tell them why. Unless it was a super violent reason, you can bail, sure, but you got to tell them why, so then they can at least utilize that reason for the next person. Why are you going to hoard that information from them?
So it's men's fault? Or?
No, it's both faults.
Oh, it's both.
They both, the cancel culture needs to stop, and so does ghosting. Both of them. That's going to kill killing culture.
How is that going to assist with the reproduction?
Because then people will be more honest. Hey, I didn't really like you because you're kind of hairy, or you're kind of you're kind of masculine or something. And then I would remember that stuff, because mostly dudes would just ghost me and then never tell me what was wrong. And all of a sudden, 10 years later, when I change, they hit me up, and then they want to be with me, and I'm like, what? Okay, so what was wrong with me? Oh, it was just I don't know. And I'm like, no, you tell me what was wrong with me, and you should have told me then, so I could have utilized that information and used it in my next relationship.
It's men's fault.
No. It's men's fault in my scenario, but I'm sure I'm sure. I mean, for me, as of in the recent, like at least, because I had a problem with ghosting for a very long time, so I always told people this was just something in my mechanisms that I used myself. In the past 7 years, I always told people why I stopped talking to them. Absolutely, 100%.
So you think that the reproduction crisis will be solved if people stop ghosting?
It would be helped. It wouldn't be solved, but it would be helped. Because then people could figure out what was actually wrong with them according to other people, as opposed to people just being like, oh, I'm going to bail out, whatever. Like, you know, I'll just find a new one. And it's like, no, like, tell somebody what's wrong so they can fix the problem. And if they ain't going to do it with you, they're going to do it with the next person.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Chair one, what do you think?
Okay.
We'll go around real quick.
That's a good answer.
What if the social
It's not
obligation
the
is of
end-all,
women
be-all,
to
that's for damn
reproduce and assist with reproduction, which all of you agree is their role, why do you think they're failing in that obligation?
Honestly, I'm super agreeing. Honestly, if there was, give me 1 second.
Okay, Chair two.
Bruh.
I wouldn't say this is something that like specifically comes down to like traditional women aren't doing their jobs. I feel like it's a problem all over the world in countries, in some countries a lot worse than the US. I think a lot of it comes down to economic stability. A lot of families don't feel comfortable with being able to provide for a large amount of kids. College tuition is expensive. While I do believe, I mean, people want that. Yeah, I think everybody wants that. They just want to have a sense of security.
Can you explain why it is the poor have more kids than the rich and the middle class then, if it's about money?
I think that's a question for perhaps you.
Sure. No, I actually agree that it's not a failure of women necessarily, because it takes two to create a child. Women themselves cannot go and create a child on their own.
One of us
and
can
like
make it a lot
obviously,
harder
as
than the
someone
other
who
one,
works in pro-life activism, financial instability is a primary reason why people are getting abortions. Another reason is oftentimes the baby's father doesn't want a child. A lot of the women I've worked with seeking abortions are there because the baby's father is dragging them there, because men aren't willing to be responsible fathers either. So it's both. It's men and women. I think that definitely our culture.
Even if you compensated for abortions yearly, it wouldn't solve the reproduction crisis. Not even close.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Even if you were to compensate for the abortions yearly, it still would not solve the reproduction crisis.
Right. I mean, it would help, but no, I think the reasons people are getting abortions is the same. Yeah, it's the same reasons though, is financial instability and I also do think there's a problem with people don't value motherhood and feminism, or what people consider feminism now. I guess what modern day feminism has become is telling women that motherhood is less of an important role than being a CEO or whatever, and that's not true. Motherhood is one of the most crucial things.
What incentive do men have to marry women who won't submit, though? And on top of that, here's what actually causes it, the reproduction crisis. There's actually just really one major correlation which causes it, is that women take their reproductive years, their 20s, which is their primary reproductive years, and they go to college in their 20s, and they don't start having families until they're about, on average, now in the U.S., 28 years old before they start. But a lot of them are starting in their 30s. Most marriages now are starting in their 30s. Because of this, women have less children, significantly less children. So actually, it seems to me that if you wanted to solve the problem of having your entire nation completely replaced by immigrants or people who aren't from your nation, that the way that you could solve this is by having some sort of propaganda campaign at the national level to glorify the family and not to glorify women going to college, which seems to be a complete and total waste of what women's social obligation is, which is having children and bringing up the next generation of society.
Andrew, I have a question. So what do you think about parents, like, because they exist out there, I'm just going to say they exist, seen them. What do you think about parents that don't want their kids to have kids, that they just want to be the parent forever? They don't ever want to be a grandparent. They don't ever want the identity of a grandparent. They don't ever want to get old. What do you think about those parents? Because there are those parents out there.
Well, hold on. I'd actually prefer if the panel responds to Andrew's point that he just. It's okay. Maybe later we can get into it.
Here was the point. If you stave off in their 20s, if women were to stave off in their 20s, and here's how we know this, because we can look at reproduction rates, especially since the 1800s, where they've been dropping like a rock, right? And we can see that when women were getting married younger, we were having many more children because of multiple reasons. Primary one is they have more childbearing years. The second is the children tend to be much healthier. 3, the mother tends to be able to recover much better. So any woman will tell you who's had a child in their 20s that it was a breeze in comparison to when they had one in their 30s, or especially in their 40s, right? Which is like, they can be god awful on their body at that point. So it seems that what we're doing is we're taking the smartest women who should be at home raising the next generation and telling them instead that they should be going to college and sacrificing their childbearing years in order to get a job, which, by the way, the types of jobs that they're getting, there's basically only 3 categories. None of them are getting jobs in STEM.
So to delay
motherhood.
motherhood.
In psychology, and they're getting degrees in nursing, and they're getting degrees in sociology. That's mainly what they're getting degrees in. They're basically not doing anything STEM-wise, and they're, half of them or more don't even work in the very fields they got a degree in. So this seems backwards to me, right? Doesn't that seem backwards to everybody?
Would you just see that it's just they're afraid of the older generation's afraid of aging?
What do you mean?
Like they're afraid of aging, they don't ever want to be a grandparent, so they don't tell their kids to have kids?
You mean in these isolated? I'm not familiar with this phenomenon.
Wait, what?
I think it's very common.
Wait, you never heard?
It's a very common phenomenon that older parents are telling their children not to have children.
Oh.
I mean, I'm sure there's some anti.
Yeah. This was something that I was surprised by with your parents. Is that I don't know, all the parents who had kids back home wanted grandkids, like bad. They were down bad for grandkids. So it's a little weird that there does seem to be. Andrew will probably agree with me. It's not a huge, section of the population, but it's a big enough part of the population that, there's probably women like this out there who has parents who are like, yeah, I don't want you to have kids. I just want to be the last of our lineage for whatever reason.
Antinatalists out there who do that. But
wait, they're called antinatalists? Wait.
Yeah.
Oh.
Antinatalists are people who don't want other people to have children.
Really? Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't know.
So anyway, yeah, back to the point though. That's what it seems like. So shouldn't we do that? Shouldn't we try to defer women from going to college and instead to move younger towards marriage if you wanted to actually solve this issue?
Not necessarily. I think that you can still go to college and be a mom at the same time. I think that's important. That's a common thing that I will agree with you. Society pushes on women that you can't be a mother and you can't have a career and be a mother. You can't be a mother and be successful. Being a mother is success in itself, but you can still do both. I do think in general, though, there's a push for people to go to college, and my generation definitely is going to college just because they're expected to. And I don't think that's just a women thing. I think that's in general. Like, people just go to college when they don't know what to do with their life. I think that's
my idea here in society is that if the social push for women, right, for them to actually do the same, what their duty is to society, which you agree is reproduction, the assistance towards reproduction, right? That's what you guys universally agreed is the social duty of women.
Well, not always.
If that's the case.
Anti-lineage is disturbing.
Even the cases
Not
where
wanting
they
kids
can't,
for your
where
personal
women
life is
can't have
okay, that's
children,
fine,
just
but
like in the
feeling
cases
that
where
way
men
for
can't
anyone else is
defend the nation
gross.
or are unable to
Can't be a good
defend their
mother.
families due to physical
That's what
illness.
everything is to
We
me,
still
baby.
are pushing society towards a role that men and women did do this. So we don't take the
Oh.
outliers and then make policy based on the outliers. That's what makes them outliers.
Yeah.
So the thing is like,
that is the kind of
if
line of
that is
thinking
the
you'd have to
case,
take
wouldn't you
to not want
rather
your kid
the
to have
kind of
kids.
top-down rhetoric from your leadership, like even TPUSA or even the President of the United States on down, to be to women not
Man,
to
that's the
waste
problem
their
Andrew's trying to fix. He's like, I'm just
childbearing
trying to get
years in
babies
school,
out there.
but
I don't care if they're good
instead take their
babies.
childbearing
I just want to
years
get
and
babies out
move
there.
into the idea of husband and family.
He's
That
not
would
even talking
solve-
about
that would
good
actually
parents,
solve
all right? He's just
the
talking about
reproduction
parents in
crisis.
general.
That would solve it. Done.
Yeah.
That solves the immigration issue of having to pump in millions of immigrants. That
Quality or
solves the
quantity
issue.
problem
It
here.
just solves it outright.
It is still such a challenging market for aspiring homeowners. Only 1 out of every 5 new owners last year was a first-time buyer. That's the lowest on record.
Is the housing market going to crash? I don't think it's going to crash, but I do think we're stuck.
A new report reveals that investors have bought nearly 500,000 homes in the Las Vegas Valley since 2009.
Okay, so today we're going to be taking a look at how much of a mess the housing market is right now. This one's going to be a bit all over the place. We got horrendous home listings, we have bad realtors, we have just a non-stop flow of scams popping up every single day, foreclosures on the rise while unaffordability is at an all-time high. And simultaneously, while all this is happening, corporations are buying up so many homes. It's honestly not looking good right now. We have a ton of stuff to go over today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below, but let's just jump right into it.
And falling mortgage rates are bringing hope to the housing market.
Above anything
Rates
else,
are
biggest
starting the year at a
responsibility that you yield
15-month
either
low.
the best
ABC's
or the
Elizabeth
worst.
Schulze has
based on your
more on
efforts.
what potential buyers need to know. Hey, Diane, 2026 is bringing signs of hope for the housing market, starting with mortgage rates at a 15-month low. The average official rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage now 6.15%. That's down from 7% this time last year. What's behind this? Well, the Federal Reserve cut rates 3 times at the end of last year. With the Fed now in kind of wait-and-see mode, a lot of housing analysts do expect we will stay in this low 6% range this year. Home prices on average are still going up, but they're not going up quite as fast. And inventory is up from last year, so more people are listing their homes for sale. It is still such a challenging market for aspiring homeowners. Only 1 out of every 5 new owners last year was a first-time buyer. That's the lowest on record. So these are some very welcome signs of relief.
But to be honest, I don't think it's too much relief. This comment sums it up perfectly. Interest rates don't matter if a $200,000 home is listed at $600,000. I always love that they substitute words to make it sound not as bad as it actually is. It's a challenging time right now for aspiring first-time home buyers, which really means it's just wildly unaffordable for most people now. Only 20% of sales have been to first-time home buyers. But thank God the interest rate's gone down less than 1%. Rates and prices are all messed up. Congrats, it's ruined for entire generations. I truly don't want to know what it's going to look like in the next 5, 10, 20 years. And this goes with a comment from you guys. You will own nothing and we're raising the cost to breathe air. And this is all happening while the realtors whose job it is to sell you these homes are laughing in everybody's faces.
And over here, you have this one guy who's been waiting for the market to crash since 2020.
Oh, wow.
And as you could see with the creators turning off the comment section, you could probably guess what the reaction to this was. I really don't know what realtors have been thinking recently. Sometimes you have to read your buyer's text and move on with your day, which normally in this TikTok trend, the next slide is something crazy. Something off the wall, wildly out of line, and that's the whole point. But let's go over to the next picture. Hey, I know you've been showing us homes for the past month, but we've actually decided to rent for another year. Thank you for your time. That's it. As a realtor who made social media accounts with their brand image, you decided to put one of your potential clients on blast like this for everybody to see, as if anybody's going to think that this is funny or relatable and you'd get more business from this? We could go over to the comments. If I saw my realtor post my text for TikToks, I'd be finding a new realtor, so let's hope that these are fake. To be fair, realtors are no longer worth the money, and we got another example here of a realtor not actually wanting to do their job.
So I see a house I like, I want to put an offer in on it. I find a realtor. The realtor says, it's $1 million house. What's your offer? Maybe we could put in 975. And I'm like, no, I'm going to put in 800,000. She says to me, they're never going to take it. I said to her kindly, I said, I'm sorry, that's fine. I'll still put in the offer. But in my mind, I'm like, I didn't ask you if they're going to take it. How do you know what they're going to take? You know, you're not even selling the house. You're just a rep for me. You know, you're repping me. And she said, well, how much money do you have? We need to fill out some forms for a mortgage. I said, no, I'm paying cash. And I'll give you a large cash deposit as well if they approve the house, if they say yes. And she goes, well, I'm not going to put that in. They're never going to say yes. I'd have to charge you $5,000 up front and a $500 fee. I said, okay, no problem. That's not a problem for me. And I'm thinking, like, why is it pulling teeth working with realtors? They took the deal.
Realtors no longer bring any value. We see all the listings ourselves. We could see comps ourselves. And they're not wrong with places like Zillow or Realtor. Almost everything could be done online. Bought my house without a realtor. They really aren't needed in today's world. Been in this business for 26 years. I present all offers. There's only 3 things that could happen: yes, no, or counter. If the seller's insulted, then so be it. I just don't understand why some don't want to do the one single thing that they're supposed to for their job. Very odd to me.
Is the housing market going to crash? I don't think it's going to crash, but I do think we're stuck. Because if you bought a house between 2010 and 2020, let's say your loan amount is $200,000, you refinanced during the pandemic for 3%, that 3% on $200K over 30 years is only going to cost you a little over $100,000 in interest, which is a steal. And if that person, even in the past 5 years, if they gained $150,000 to $200,000 of equity and they upgrade to a new house and they get out a $400,000 loan today at 7%, it's going to be over $550,000 of interest. So who's going to trade $100K interest for $550,000 of interest? That is a huge L. Then you have people like me and my wife who bought in 2022. So anyone who bought from 2022 to 2025, we're also stuck because our housing prices didn't go up. So if we sell, we would actually break even or maybe even lose money. So we would take an L and we can't move. Then we thought, well, why don't we rent our house out and then we can go buy another house? But our mortgage is $2,900 and we can only rent our house for $2,200, $2,300. So we would lose there. So we're stuck. We literally can't move unless we want to take a $50K punch in the face.
So basically, if you didn't buy your house 10 years ago, you're screwed. Buying anything right now just does not seem worth it, along with people who bought a few years ago. Homes have not appreciated like they did during COVID. And for whatever reason, if you do want to move or have to move, you're going to take a considerable loss. Now we could switch over to a couple of scams that I saw, along with a comment from you guys from an older video. That tiny home in Minnesota looks huge until you realize they're using a wide angle lens, because that's exactly what we were looking at. It was wildly expensive, $400,000 or $500,000 for an actual tiny home. It wasn't just a small single family house, but especially on social media, the TikTok videos, even the photos on Realtor or Zillow, they're going to use wide angle lenses and have the best lighting in the house possible. All different things to entice buyers to their listing. And I guess we're at the point where just blatantly lying about it as well is just fine. We could take a look right here.
An apartment locating company just posted a video of this unit right next to me. And I want to know if
what they posted was a lie.
In their video, they claimed that if you have a $1,300 budget and want to live in a high-rise, you can have a view like this too. This is the exact unit they posted, and at the end I'll show you a video of the $1,300 apartment. This is apartment 909 at the Case Building in Deep Ellum. It is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath corner unit that is 1,344 square feet, and it is currently renting for $2,841 per month. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this apartment. The windows are incredible, it gets great lighting, it blends some modern and industrial finishes together, and it's right next to Terry Black's, which is dangerous for a big boy like myself. But why in the world are we putting a $1,300 price tag over a $2,800 unit that looks like this? And in the caption, there's no mention of what the price for this floor plan is. This is the moment you've been waiting for. This is the 506 square foot, $1,300 apartment at the Case Building. This is a very cute studio, but I don't think this is what anyone had in mind after seeing their video. If you're moving soon and want real prices on real apartments, you know where to find me.
Just a classic bait and switch. I mean, showing a $1,300 monthly rent while the unit is actually $2,800. I guess they're banking on people being so desperate that they'll show up to the apartment building, see that they can't afford the $2,800 a month, and then settle for the second clip, the $1,300. Very scummy in my opinion, but this happens all the time.
I saw this condo in Manhattan for $215,000. I love New York. I'm like, I'd like to own a condo in New York. And it would go up in value. I'm like, how bad is New York on? I'm like, $215,000 from Midtown Manhattan. What the going on over there? I knew there was an exodus, but Christ, right? How bad could it be? What are you, just getting stabbed on the way into the building? $215,000? Benjamin, explain to them, I almost got taken. And by the way, if you look at me, I am the guy they hope buys this. Because when I walk into an office, this is the pitch that they make to me. This land lease scam that Ben understands even a little better than I do.
So it was first of all, very important, has to be cash only, all up front.
Cash only, because banks, and this is a red flag, will not finance this type of transaction. Now me, I'm an idiot. So I see that and I go, oh, cash only, they want the big rollers. I'm in. Like, they're like, they want a certain type of people. I think I even said to him, I'm like, I think they want a certain type of people. I'm already putting my foot in the door to get robbed. Do you see what an idiot I am? Do you see what an idiot I am?
Yeah. So the land lease is essentially, the building does not own the land that it sits it's on. So you can never technically own the apartment. It can go up in price at any point.
The homeowner's dues, which are monthly, can double, triple,
quadruple.
doesn't matter, and it gets reassessed every 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And I would hope that most people would realize that a condo in Manhattan that cost only $200,000 has to be a scam. Even if it was a shoebox apartment, it would probably still be worth more. But on the other hand, this is exactly why I have an entire scam series on this channel, because there are still many who will walk right into this trap and be out a absolute ton of money while never being able to actually own any property there. But let's move on to just some terrible listings. Of course, we have to start with my old home state, New Jersey. I could probably make an entire separate video just going over this state's listings. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Everyone's looking for something under $500,000 in New Jersey, right? $399, Belleville, New Jersey, 25 by 175, 1 bed, 1 bath, people. $399. The average home in New Jersey is around 550 grand right now, people. I don't even know what this is. Cape, bungalow, ranch.
I would just probably call it awful. No way would I move to Jersey. How much are taxes? $20,000 a year? Honestly, yeah, the property taxes are awful, along with the crazy high home prices. Why do you think I don't live there anymore? $120,000 before COVID, for sure. America is ruined. We will also see examples like that very soon. How could a bank give a mortgage for that tent for $400,000? I'd rather live in a nice trailer, and it'd probably be a better deal in the end.
If anybody wants to know what the New Jersey real estate market is like, this house is 856 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. This house, and it's listed for $850,000 in Princeton, New Jersey. That is insane.
So my fiance and I have been looking to buy a home since March of 2024 and haven't found anything just because there's nothing on the market. And the stuff that is so crazy overpriced for holes. So I'm going to show you what $429,000 gets you in New Jersey. So this is a beautiful property, 2.5 acres of land in the town that I grew up in. And I'm like, okay, the house, it clearly needs some work on the outside, but that's manageable. The property is beautiful. Let me show you what the inside looks like. Mold all over, top to bottom, just disgusting. The spores are so foul. It makes my skin crawl.
Okay, so going back to the first clip, I know there's going to be some people saying, oh, it's Princeton, New Jersey. You got the Ivy League school. It's super nice. That's where the rich people live. But still, you're paying almost $1 million for a literal shack. Who in their right mind's going to buy it? And the second one, we could go over to the comment section. Jersey girl here bought a home last year. They covered up all of the water, mold, and structural damage the inspector missed. Very common in that state. So now we have to lawyer up in order to get out of this house because this house and that one should be condemned. So it's $429,000 for land. Basically, we even have a pretty funny example here of a neighbor calling the other out because of how much mold they're hiding while they're trying to rent it out.
Listen, this is what you're talking about when your neighbors don't give a damn. Check that sign out now. 72 7102. Where is it at? Right here. 7102. Gotta love your neighbors.
At least somebody's calling it out so a tenant wouldn't get trapped in there, but you know it's getting really bad when we start seeing videos like this.
It's the perfect time for you to move to Kensington. This renovated 3-bed, 1-bath home is ready for you for just $1,500 a month. Check out the fresh look. We've got open sight lines, great light, and those beautiful wood look floors throughout the entire first floor.
Okay, so this video is a lot longer just showing the rest of the house. I do like how quickly they gloss over the wood look floors, which means they're not actually hardwood, it's all faux. But yeah, let's move to Kensington for $1,500 a month. Let's just take a look at the comments. Move where? Kensington, Philadelphia? Beautiful hardwood floors that aren't actually real, and bars on the door. Kensington, Philadelphia again. Some poor soul's gonna see this and think, oh, Kensington looks nice. I locked my phone as soon as she said Kensington. There was a fenced-in backyard as well. I mean, there were thousands of comments making fun of this post. So okay, you don't want that. Let's look at a different type of home, the new construction.
This is where you move when good enough just won't do. Every home feels intentional, hand-built by the area's finest custom builders. Some of these homes even offer multi-generational living.
For under $700,000, located just 30 minutes from downtown Raleigh, I can get you into this brand new 3,900 square foot home for a 4.99% interest rate. Let's check it out.
Okay, so before I say anything, let's go over to the comments. With the first one in Wake Forest, these $1.2 million homes, I think they started at $1.2 million. It's a development, just like every other one. This is new construction cookie cutter houses. They're just big. They're not custom built like he was making, okay's not good enough. Hand built, finest, custom builders. The same lowest bid contractors built those as every other new construction house. Exactly. Here's a couple of comments from the second one. $700,000 for that? No. $460,000 max. I still think that's overpriced for what it is. $700,000 in its carpet, basic cabinets, and fake fireplace. And along with the crazy prices for this new construction, it's never actually a quality build. We've gone over it a lot on this channel as inspectors making social media accounts, just ripping apart all of these new construction homes, and it's becoming such a problem for these construction companies building these paper-mache homes that they're now trying to silence these creators.
A Valley home inspector known for his videos exposing problems that he finds during inspections will not face discipline.
You see that leaning block wall?
He specializes in new construction homes in Arizona, and his videos oftentimes
this guy.
expose
I watched a
flaws
bunch of his
he finds,
videos.
informing homeowners of their rights under Arizona law. But his inspection videos showing Taylor
black guy who
Morrison
does it
homes
too.
prompted the company to file a complaint against him with the Arizona State Board of Technical Registration, which regulates Porter's industry and his license.
He's like, "That
in the
ain't right."
complaint, Taylor Morrison described Porter's posts as harassing, falsified, and bullying. This week, the board holding a hearing to discuss the complaint. The investigator assigned to the case saying there was no evidence to show Porter lied in any of his videos. A Taylor Morrison representative calling for Porter's license to be suspended. Board members had differing opinions. One called for discipline. Another said there was no violation and Porter's videos are protected. Ultimately, the board did not discipline Porter.
So clearly one of the board members is in the pocket of these Taylor Morrison homes, but they tried to make it sound like he was harassing and bullying for legitimately just doing his job. Do you think you should trust any of this new construction now? This is happening all over the country. Why should the inspector face discipline for finding faults with the build? Exactly. Corporations are dumb and greedy. Inspector inspects things. Taylor Morrison homes, how dare you? I'm glad the news got it right this time. Educating people is not illegal. It's literally his job. I mean, the comments go on and on.
Okay, we're out of showing. This is the most crazy work I've ever seen with them trying to make it look like something. You can see the drips everywhere. Look at this. They even hit this. They hit the outlets with it.
Bullying.
I once toured a house that had
Wow.
glitter
What is the
epoxy
world?
counters. Why does it look like it's still drying? I mean, it looks so bad. We got another comment from you guys right here. People aren't deciding to rent instead of own. They don't have a choice now because there are so many examples like this on screen. Anyone else tired of this overpriced real estate market? With a 1,300 square foot, pretty small looking house listed at $725,000. And then surprise, surprise, you go to the price history in 2018, it sold for $365,000. In 8 years, that small house's value doubled? How do you think most people are going to afford that? They're not. But then we go over to the comments. Everyone's been saying it's going to burst, but it's been like 6 years. I don't get people justifying the prices. It's a bubble. How do $400,000 homes sell for $900,000? It's ridiculous. And then on the other hand, I see posts like this. When a single family home enters the market below $800,000 in South Orange County. And it's just a picture of an open house being mobbed with people. I don't know how you could justify spending that much money on that small of a house, but we could go over to the comment section. Meanwhile, a random corporation has already put in a cash offer $100,000 over, and no one else even has a chance. We got another comment from you guys right here. I moved out of San Francisco just before the pandemic. At that point, my rent was $2,700 for a studio, excluding utilities. The bathroom was on a shared floor and there was no kitchen. You had to use plug-in pots, and I still needed a roommate because I couldn't afford it alone. So how much higher do you think that same apartment is in 2026?
So I'm on Zillow, right, looking for apartments in San Diego. This is how criminal the San Diego rental market is, right? $2,300 a month for 550 square feet. What is that shower? Am I the flatfish from SpongeBob?
Yes.
How am I supposed to take a shower in that?
I saw this recently in LA, a picture of a bed right next to the toilet. That's a pretty interesting layout. It's crazy.
You would
to me
love
in
that.
college, my
See, these
3-bedroom,
people have
2-bath
no
apartment in Orange County was
concept of what's
$800
good in
a
their
month.
life.
I miss those days. A long time ago, I was looking for a room to rent in LA, and I kid you not, the lady said you have to use the restroom down the street at the fast food place. No bathroom, no kitchen access, just a room. That's it. I think it's important to explain why this has happened. In 2021, Blackstone was allowed by San Diego legislature to purchase 66 apartment complexes in San Diego for just over $1 billion during our massive COVID fire sale. Our mayor and city legislator did nothing to prevent this, then immediately raised the rent to 3 times the local average and as high as 79%. And that is a perfect transition into the next few clips.
Hamilton Island has just been bought by US private equity giant Blackstone for $1.2 billion. The island is situated in the heart of the Great Barrier Reef and has been a popular tourist destination for decades. Blackstone already controls the likes of Crown Resorts and has more than $1.2 trillion in assets under management globally. The deal, however, is still subject to regulatory approval.
And this is not the only example. It goes on and on.
A new report reveals that investors have bought nearly 500,000 homes in the Las Vegas Valley since 2009. Investor purchases of homes in the Las Vegas Valley peaked in 2021 when they made up 27% of all local purchases. That went up to 29% in 2022. On average, about 1 in every 5 homes sold in the Las Vegas Valley went to an investor between 2009 and 2024. While investor activity has slowed lately, Las Vegas still ranks among the top U.S. cities for investor home buying. Experts warn that this trend impacts both affordability and the number of homes available for local families.
And you don't think that this is happening all over the country? As soon as they bleed Vegas dry, they just move on to the next. And then the saying, you'll own nothing and be happy, becomes more true every single day. Should be illegal for corporations to buy family homes. How is this not illegal? Listed my house for sale in Vegas and had 3 offer investors right away. I sold to a family instead. Now, even with all of the examples that we've seen in this video, I wanted to show at least one example of some horrendous real estate investing.
They lost almost $1 million on this house in less than 2 years. This Palm Spring house sold for $1.4 million in 2023, and I have no clue why they paid that much for it. The sellers before bought the house for only $750K in 2022, and they tried to sell it for $1.15 million just 7 months later. They couldn't, so they cut the price down to 1.1, and now these current owners came in with a $1.4 million offer. How does that make any sense? Well, anyways, it's 2 years later, and now these current owners are trying to sell the property, but it went under foreclosure. It listed for sale at $685,000, which is over $700,000 down from what they paid on it. I have no idea what they were thinking. There are so many question marks on this one.
I have no idea what happened in that situation. Seems like a crazy story, but we'll finish off this video with the increase in foreclosure rates.
Been trying to tell y'all. According to Tampa latest, Tampa has had the worst foreclosure filing rate of any major metro area in America. I'm seeing it in my home buyer searches every day. Foreclosures, short sales, assumable loans. All of them are becoming a more common appearance because those people who bought at the peak in 2022, 2023 simply can't afford their mortgage. Insurance, property taxes, HOA fees seem to be ever increasing, and those unexpected costs are catching homeowners by surprise and putting some of them in a difficult.
Okay, so I don't know why the audio cut off at the end there, but he just said it puts them in a difficult situation, obviously. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Artists and small business owners should not be expected to lower their prices so that poor people can afford their items. Art is a luxury. A lot of small business goods are luxuries.
I like to support local. You're making it hard. They're making it hard for me.
All these local places like near me, when I go in there around 11:05, 11:10, first thing the guy says to me is like, dude, we're not ready yet. Dude, you specified that 11 o'clock was the time that you guys were open.
Okay, so today we're going to be taking a look at small businesses. I don't think I have to tell you with how expensive everything has gotten in today's world, these family-run places are not doing well. However, this is for more reasons than just price. We have declining quality of items. Some businesses are lying and scamming their customers, along with certain things that just don't need to be shared on social media, overall hurting their reputation. We have a ton of stuff to go over today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's just jump right into it.
I love to support a local coffee shop, and guess how much? A medium iced latte. I did add an extra shot, and this cookie was $18. More than, and some change. I said, what? She said, your total's 18 something. I said, what? She said, the cookie's $7.
Green bread.
I should have said, throw the cookie away, but I was afraid. I was holding up a line. I paid it. I'm insane. I'm enabling in this behavior. I'm enabling these prices. But holy $18 for a latte and a cookie. I like to support local. You're making it hard. They're making it hard for me.
You're making it hard for me.
We could go right over to the comments. The drink was $11, and rarely is the coffee ever good. And they'll ask for a 20% tip on top. The creator responds, oh, they sure did. Now, we have an entire segment in this video talking about those niche coffee shops, but we can move on to what the reality is today for most people, not having too much expendable income. So when you see clips like this and prices that are overall pretty high, you can't be too surprised that the sales aren't flooding in.
Temu is putting our slime shop out of business. Well, not yet, but they are affecting our sales. Temu and Chinese-made slimes are way cheaper because their slimes are mass-produced in giant factories with low-quality ingredients, minimal safety checks, and sometimes unfair labor practices. Sure, it's cheap, but it rips, it dries out fast, and it smells. It's really not great most of the time, and on the other hand, our small slime shop is family-owned, and each batch is made by hand with charms, scents, and creative textures that all cost a lot to the manufacturer. With tariffs and increased costs from shipping, small slime shops that hand make their slimes are slowly being squeezed out of the market. Hopefully the customers can see the effort me and many other small slime shops are making to be unique and creative and choose to purchase from us instead of the mass-produced slimes.
Okay, so at least with my opinion, I am not into
slimes.
slime whatsoever. It's kind of a hard
Blaming this on
watch.
big
It's
slime?
like negative ASMR to me. All those sounds are like nails to a chalkboard. But we could go over to the comment section. Yeah, because everyone has $20+ to spend on activated glue. It's slime, glue, and activator. I'd rather go to Temu than buy some handmade expensive slime that looks the same. Low-key thought all the slime shops went out of business after 2020. I don't know how popular it is today. I do remember seeing some of those shorts and TikToks during COVID. So that could be a problem with these products now across the board. They could be a fad product like the fidget spinners years ago. Now you don't see them anywhere anymore on top of these high prices. I understand that you put effort into this, but you have to be realistic with people who are going to pay. $20 for one 2-ounce slime is crazy. Small businesses like this are very expensive. Not everyone can afford $20 for slime that'll go bad in a month. And another one right here, this reminds me of the Walmart heart cake drama. If you don't know what that is, several months ago there were some TikTok bakers that made some videos blasting everybody for buying cakes at Walmart. Small birthday cakes to heart shape were pretty cheap. I mean like 10, 20, 30 bucks. When those same bakers were charging double or triple the price and making it seem like it was everybody else's fault but themselves, because as I'm going to say over and over in this video, people's wallets are pretty tight nowadays. But that is a good transition into the next clip.
Defensive and very rude about the price of the cake. Although this is exactly how we decorate all.
I would also become defensive and very rude if you were trying to charge me $80 for that cake. You took a cake, put white frosting on it, and literally just smushed it through sprinkles.
Bakers.
That's neither labor or time intensive. And even if it was, it is still
That's not
really
labor.
ugly. Like, the cake looks bad. And 9 times out of 10, I am in favor of small businesses overcharging what they normally do. I think people usually take advantage of small businesses because they don't necessarily know their worth. And I'm also a big believer in out of your price range does not mean overpriced. However, that ugly cake is overpriced. And I would be really pissed off too.
She wasn't wearing gloves, that's even worse. My kid is a pastry chef and he saw this and said the same thing. He said maybe 20 bucks. Look at the cake that she gave the customer. It's way worse than the one she showed us. And she acted like the customer wasn't out of pocket. This goes hand in hand with the Walmart cake drama. But I will go back to a comment she made. Out of your price range does not mean overpriced. So let's take a look at the next clip.
I really hope that this isn't a controversial take, but Artists and small business owners should not be expected to lower their prices so that poor people can afford their items. Art is a luxury. A lot of small business goods are luxuries, and artists and small business owners need to make living wages too. Living wages means living wages for everyone, even if that means that you can't afford their work. There's a difference between something being overpriced and something being out of your budget.
Okay, right off the bat, calling your potential customers poor because they thought your items were priced too high is crazy. But okay, that's fine. You're not going to lower your prices because I have to survive out in this world too. But if you're getting no sales from anybody, you're making absolutely no money. And she said art is a luxury and small business products are a luxury as well. So you can't be surprised in this economy when your sales are tanking. We got another comment from you guys right here. It's the entitlement for me. I didn't ask you to start a small business. I'm not obliged to support you. I'm willing to spend more money for personalization and higher quality, but I'm not spending my hard-earned money on Temu crap and terrible customer service. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but these clips up on screen go hand in hand with the last one. If buying art or products from small businesses are such a luxury, you're going to see a lot more videos like this when you guys flooded our comment section with a For You page is too local, but the dining room is empty. How I feel spending every last penny I have on small businesses just to get 0 sales. Me after wasting hundreds of dollars and all my money on supplies for my small business that I thought was going to be successful and getting no views and no orders. I asked you guys in an older video as well, do you see small businesses having a tough time where you live? Many small businesses have started selling things from Chillin or Temu at an insane markup. Why would I buy that when it's literally on Temu? It used to be worth buying from small businesses when it was handmade. Everything is made in China, not worth it. I do still remember that clip that we watched from Nantucket. It was a super wealthy area with all those ridiculously expensive boutique stores, and it was littered with Amazon and Temu dresses that you could legitimately just look up on your phone. It was the exact same thing. They weren't even really hiding it. I live where tourism has a major impact on our economy. Almost all small businesses are overpriced, and if you look at what they sell, it says made in China. Locals know to stay away. All of them, it's sad. Local hipster coffee shops are about $8 a coffee. No idea how they're still open. I went to a small store to make a purchase. I looked around for assistance, but all the employees were on their cell phones and had no time for me. I left the store and made a purchase at a large chain store instead. The small store went bankrupt and closed a few months later, but the chain store is still in business. Has anyone been prompted to tip when ordering desserts online? I need to tip when ordering a pickup. The $28 pies are now $40. I can bake myself, but I wanted to support a local business. The note by the tip section stated, "This is how you support us and our employees." Silly me thinking my business was good enough. I decided to order out.
Why is it always women making videos like this? No men complaining about their business is struggling. It's because they can delineate between a successful business and a non-successful business. The real place men lose on is the risk of the perceived successful business. That's where you'll find men overcompensate the market. So like investors are a good example. You'll find a bunch of men who are willing to invest money into a small business that small business they have high hopes for, and they take on the most risk, and then the business crashes out because the woman baker can't bake. But he's just like, oh, it was such a good idea and it was such a good placement. They needed a baker in this town, and she's like, yeah, but I kept taking shits in their cakes, and they didn't like eating shit cakes. And he was like, oh, well, why did you do that? And you're just like, dude, you're an idiot. So men are bad in a different way. But as far as running the business goes, you know all the numbers. Like, you can do the books, you can figure it out. But it's always the risk. Men love risk. They love risky
Can't
sex.
stand when small businesses come on here talking about y'all don't support my small business. You're selling a T-shirt for $50.
$50.
Pants for $150. No, I'm not buying that. Like, y'all prices are ridiculous. It don't make no sense.
Nobody's paying $11.99 for a cupcake, and then the shirt says, Mama, no way. I actually do remember an example of somebody shutting down their store, complaining that the sales dried up when they legitimately had $40 to $60 t-shirts that said Mama on it as well. Hit the nail right on the head. $75 strawberries, I can't. Those chocolate-covered strawberries. And we have even more comments from you guys back to back. There's a huge difference between supporting local businesses and getting scammed. Small businesses aren't supporting my wallet. If I hear competitively priced, I already got one foot out the door, but we could take a look at some of these businesses just straight up lying to your face, especially if we're talking about homemade products.
I am all for supporting small businesses. I think it's incredible when people have the support they need to flourish with an idea that they have thought of themselves, and it's really creative and it works really well. But one thing I hate is when small businesses try and act like their product is a luxury or a novelty when it's literally just a cheap thing that you can order off of Shein or Amazon. I went to this downtown area with my boyfriend and his family this weekend, and there was this store.
These are the women that are wives and husbands funding their hobbies. True. They're losing money, and the women can't understand why. They refuse to look at the market too. They want to do the things everyone else. Better be grateful and fund their dreams and practical. Yeah, the slime thing. The slime thing's crazy. It's a crazy example, but it's a good example of being like, a fad is like a thing that is not supposed to be long lasting. So you could probably do a good slime business out of your house, but you have to be like, oh, once the fad's gone, it's gone. So like you just want to min-max that time period where the fad is popping. But after a certain point, people are going to be like, oh, especially if the economy's down, like, hey, ain't nobody spending money on slime. Like, you just got to be practical about it. But I imagine if you are successful at it during, like, COVID times when everybody was popping, everybody need those stress slimes, it makes sense why the data she has is different than what reality is. That's why it's good to have husband-wife combos that they can be like, hey, yeah, I totally get that this business was popping during COVID, but post-COVID and as the economy kind of pulls back, maybe we should let's find you a different job, honey. Have we tried painting? Have you tried painting? Or baking? Have you tried baking?
Or that was selling like a bunch of European pottery and dishes. Okay, they had like a whole pottery or Polish pottery section, which if you know about Polish pottery, like it's a very distinct look. But they had this section with a bunch of bamboo bowls, okay? And it said that they were based, like the people that make them were based in Hamburg, Germany. And the shop owner came over while we were looking at them, and she was like, oh, I'm actually from Hamburg. Like, these are from my hometown.
Another good example.
And then you check the label of it, and it says
their
made in
friends
Vietnam.
pay for cakes. They
And
want to make
it's just really scammy and disappointing when these small businesses try and
not
act
actually
like
consistent in our business.
the product that they are making is anything but a mass-produced factory item.
Oh, unironically though, I like when people do this. When they like, oh, I run a home bakery now. Like if I worked with people and I had lots of friends who wanted me to make cakes for them because they knew I went to school for it. I like being like, oh yeah, I'll have my friends and family special, where I give them 50% off the cakes that I make, and I have really expensive cakes online. I would totally do this just to gatekeep my friends and family from wasting my goddamn life, my time, my energy, my resources. But I wouldn't call it a business. I'd have a day job. That's for damn sure.
I had to
But I
quit
love
a job that I
gatekeeping
worked
stuff
because
like
the
this.
baked goods we used to make ourselves
Such a good-
started coming into us
'Cause it's fair.
pre-made and
You're like, oh,
frozen. Business
just
owners
paying for a
still
little bit
tells
of my
people
time
to
and a
this
little
day
bit of
her
my
goods are
resources.
homemade. I just bought what I thought was homemade
to
paper
them
star at
to
a
think
local
twice
Christmas
about
market.
asking
Gave
you
it to
about
our
it first.
family and then spotted the tiny "Made in India" sticker on the back after the owner said that they were handmade. What do? I feel like if you call them out in the moment, then they'll just start removing those made in identifiers, so we won't actually be able to tell what's a scam and what's not. It's getting harder and harder harder to trust anything now. We got another example from you guys right here. When I had a homemade soap business in Tennessee, I went to the local farmer's market on Saturdays to sell. Got to know the people at the local market. One Friday afternoon, I went to Kroger, and a couple who sold at the market weekly were buying carts full of produce. I stopped buying from them after that because all I was getting was Kroger produce marked at a higher price. They didn't see me that day, but I saw them. I was shocked. We've actually gone over this topic in a completely separate video on my second channel because this is much more common than you think. But something else that I've started to find online is that a lot of these business owners will start putting up videos on social media complaining about the customers, whether they're not getting sales or, like this person up on screen, getting a lot of returns, blaming everybody else but themselves, which in my opinion, even if the customer is in the wrong, you going and posting these videos complaining to everyone is just not a good look for your business. And along with this specific example, this woman was selling a whole bunch of costume jewelry, which was getting returned at a very high rate, and it really seemed like it was because the quality was very poor. Mountain of returns equals cheap products that are overpriced. Nobody's buying costume jewelry to wear it to an event and then return it. If there's all those returns, there's a reason, and it's probably bad quality, because that's what she was trying to blame these returns on. People would use it once and then just send it back. But regardless, probably not the best idea for you to put up videos like this. It just does not look good for your business. Maybe the products suck, I don't know. Maybe reevaluate product quality if there's so many returns. There's a lot of comments like this. But you knew it was coming, we gotta talk about it, the local coffee shops.
I just don't understand why nobody supports my small business. So we're only open from about 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. 4 days a week from Tuesday to Friday because I'm not working on a Monday. So if you want a coffee in about this size cup, it's going to cost you about $15, and if you don't like it, no, we will not remake it for you. So the tip screen will pop up every time you buy something, and it is kind of expected that you tip at least 30%, even though you're already paying $18 for a single cup of coffee. Yeah, so actually with our coffee, you can't just order simple coffee, so we don't have anything that's just like, plain black coffee or, coffee with a little bit of cream. That doesn't really exist here. So if you do want oat milk, it is an extra $4.50, but that's up to you. Yeah, so we actually don't have any bathrooms here either, so if you do need to use the bathroom, you can go down the street. There's a few shops there, but not here. And we also don't have any Wi-Fi here, so please do not ask me if we do. So to see our menu, there's a QR code you're going to have to scan, or you can go on our Instagram. It's posted there as well. So we don't like to call ourselves a coffee shop. We more so like to say we're a roasted bean experience.
It's with sad news that we report that we're closing next week. It's difficult to compete financially in these hard times. That same business in 2 months. I'm always convinced that all they do is launder money. The random Facebook posts, we're open today. We'll be serving customers from 10 to 3. Don't forget the perfectly honest review followed by the owner's response saying our employees are rock stars and doing their best. Stop trashing all small businesses. But apparently in this next clip, you're not charging enough. Your prices need to be even higher.
Your coffee shop sucks because you're charging 2017 prices in 2025. Losers. So why is your coffee so expensive? It's not expensive. It's just not priced like it's 2017. So my shop sucks because I'm undercharging. Pretty much you can't run 2025 margins on 2017 prices. But won't customers get mad if I raise them? Customers are going to get mad no matter what, but you still need to make money. The economy's coffee prices have almost doubled in the last 2 years. And if you're not taking that into consideration when you're pricing out your menu, you could be too. You need to raise your prices with confidence because people value value. And if you're not willing to raise your prices, just be prepared to close.
Now I get it, the price of the goods, the materials have all gone up drastically. But if you are going to raise the prices similar to the first clip, with the coffee and cookie that cost $18, you're going to lose a significant amount of customers. Be prepared to close. Coffee shops are competing against making the coffee at home now. I can make a whole week's worth of coffee for the price of one of your coffees. Not spending $5 for an espresso shot or a small drip, babe. And here's the result of what he was saying. So bored, no one's coming in. Just a completely empty coffee shop. Here's another one. Work so empty, I'm comfortable making TikToks out in the open. Now this could also feature in the series on my second channel, with people getting fired because of their TikToks at work. Probably not the best thing to do overall, but again, a completely empty coffee shop during the day.
Hey there, what's up? Not my usual content, but can we start calling out all these little tiny independent coffee shops for having just dog coffee?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you're all niche and cool and hip. It doesn't justify you serving me what tastes like brewed roach wings.
Tell him.
Right? This is a
Tell him,
cold
hippie
brew.
man.
I said add just a little bit of milk. Look how light that is. And then I get charged $1 to add a single pump of vanilla syrup.
Yeah.
And it still tastes like
booty.
Pretty much water.
Tastes like booty.
Burnt cockroach
Say it.
wings
Say it with
in
your
it.
chest.
So I think you guys get the gist, but we'll go back to that clip of raising your prices. This isn't 2017 anymore. And we'll take a look at some barbershops real quick. Charging $100, they said. Know your worth, they said.
Anyone
And it's a
struggling to
video
run a
of a
business,
completely
treats
empty
relations the
barbershop.
same.
I cut my own hair because of you
No
guys. I
compromise
cut
or
my own hair as
feedback,
well.
man.
Barbers think that they're doctors now. I used to get my hair cut once a week. Now it's once a month. And not only are you going to pay these ludicrous prices for a haircut, there's some places that won't even do what you want.
Support Chicago barbershops, but we might not give you the kind of haircut that you want.
So I get it. Right now, the fad are the broccoli hair, the mullet as well. It is getting played out and it's a little annoying. But at the same time, if you're charging $50, $60, $100 for these cuts, you should be doing whatever the customer wants.
Go somewhere else.
Support mechanics, but we don't do oil
They got a
changes.
shop
I thought that was pretty funny. Pay $60 for a guy with traditional tattoos to give you and every other guy in the shop identical Peaky Blinders undercuts and a straight razor shave. And we got another comment from you guys right here. I went to 4 different pawn shops 2 weeks ago looking for cameras. They were selling used, beat-up looking cameras for only $20 to $30 less than what they go for brand new on Amazon. And then you wonder why it doesn't get sold. I mean, I just don't understand.
I'm closing the store. Part of it is Amazon and Gen Z shopping behavior are beating the hell out of small neighborhood retail. And the rest of it is the city has removed all the parking and allowed construction during the holiday season. So we're hearing all about this small business helpfulness, but none of it's happening for us.
This shop looks dope.
I was really on her team until I saw the state of that store, which is hoard if I have ever seen one.
This video sent me on a rabbit hole about this store because you better believe I ran my ass to the Google reviews. And I read review after review after review of this woman being exactly what I thought she was, which is rude and entitled and just seemingly discriminatory to anybody that she didn't deem worthy to shop in her store.
I agree.
I had to go to the reviews because I needed to know why people were saying you couldn't walk into the store anymore. I was like, what does that mean? It's a store. What does that mean? It's a store. And it meant that you had to have an appointment. And if you tried to walk in, she would stop you at the door and go, what are you looking for? And here's the kicker. In case you didn't dislike her enough off bat, she was like, everybody thinks it's the rent. That's the reason I'm closing. It's not the rent. I own the building. Yeah, I didn't feel bad for her anymore. I don't feel bad for you anymore.
This is the store's working hours, by the way. Thursday, 12 to 6 p.m. Friday, 12 to 6:30. Saturday, 12 to 6. And Sunday, 1 to 5.
She's old. She's got boomer
That's
money.
it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, closed. But yeah, it's Gen Z's fault in shopping online. Not that your store looks like a hoarder's paradise. Also, no one's buying vintage cookware off of Amazon because that's what she was selling. A lot of old decorations and cookware. I lived by this store for 2
was
years.
the cookware? I thought she
hours
was a
were
seamstress.
erratic. Never open when I walked by. The one time it was open, I was like, oh no, this is a mess. Thrift stores act like they still don't need to organize and curate desirable merchandise. I don't know. To me, that seemed like more of her hobby instead of an actual business. But we can move on to some people talking about working for these small businesses.
She now owns the building
Support
from.
small business all you want, but don't work at one, okay? Don't do it. That's how it feels to work at a small business. Just so you know.
I have 7 coworkers, and when someone wants a day off, it ruins everyone's entire week. Working at a small business is cool because you personally know who's exploiting your labor. You know it's bad when you're worrying about your boss's
Man, yeah, this is me at my current job.
Underpaid, zero benefits.
I know exactly who's gonna get fucked when I take off work.
Small businesses love underpaying and overworking their employees. When they underpay you, but you feel bad asking for more because their business is small, but your boss is spending money trying to open up another business. Working for a small business just means you know all of the owner's problems, and they'll probably try and guilt you about it to get you to work more for less. They expect you to be as invested as them. This is your business. I'm just an employee. They could say whatever they want because there's no HR. Another person, no HR equals everything sucks and there's nothing you can do about it. Don't work at a small business. It's not aesthetic. It's not a cute little mysterious job. Get rid of that saved Indeed application and look for that basic retail position. To my old boss who showed me that small businesses will treat you just as bad, if not worse than a corporation, I mean, I could go on and on.
Listen, I try to support small businesses as much as I can. Like, if I'm eating something, I'd rather go to a local place than like some chain restaurants, but they're really starting to test my patience these days. All these local places like near me, when I go in there around 11:05, 11:10, first thing the guy says to me is like, dude, we're not ready yet. It's like, it drives me nuts. It's like, dude, you specified that 11 o'clock was the time that you guys are open. There's no reason why I'm on time and you're not on time. All right, if you say that you're going to be open at 11 o'clock, be open at 11 o'clock. And another thing, put prices on the menu. Put prices on the menu. I can't tell you how many times I've left a place after inexplicably paying like $18 for a bacon, egg, and cheese. This is like the point. Listen, I love small business. I support them. But like, everybody acts like they love them. Like, try living in one of those small towns where you're going to get a coffee at like 3 p.m. and you go to the coffee place and it's closed because like the guy's taking a nap.
We're not really open yet, and don't forget the QR code menus and the 3% processing fee they add on. And we got another comment here from you guys. I'm an attorney and have represented a large number of small businesses over the years. I find that the major reason that small businesses fail is that their owners are not very good business people. They either don't provide a good value at a fair price, or simply they're not very good at handling money. Many simply don't understand what it really takes to run a successful business, and then blame others for their failures. I think this goes hand in hand with the next clip. I feel like everybody's seen this business before, wherever you live around the world.
You ever have like a store open up in your town, you just know they're just not going to make it, and you just feel like empathy for them because you see them pouring their heart and soul into it, but you just know like this thing's not sticking around. It's a store open in my town. It's like a ceramic pottery store, and it's just like just no one's ever in there. Like it's not a good fit for the clientele of town. It's just not gonna make it. And I just walk past this place like I feel it in my body. It's like I don't need any pottery, otherwise I'd be in there to purchase. But unfortunately, a lot of people are like me; they don't need pottery, and it's just how are you gonna make that work?
Oh, you mean like the cold cereal bar in my tiny town in Appalachia. There's a boutique that was briefly open in my town that exclusively sold those epoxy ocean charcuterie boards. Every single store that's been rented by a woman selling tumblers, beaded pens, t-shirts, and bedazzled anything. I had one of those friends who got the bright idea to move to Portland and open up a microbrewery. Dude, you're about 15 years too late. We recently had 5 people open up a dirty soda shop in my town of 25,000. Not only is dirty soda a fad that'll wash away soon, but the Sonic didn't even make it here. What makes you think coffee creamer in my Dr. Pepper is gonna last? A loaded baked potato bar opened near me. No surprise it closed because they were offering baked potatoes with toppings like shrimp for $25. Some of these examples do sound like a hobby or a dream of theirs, not an actual thought out business plan that'll work long term. And I don't know, I mean, I guess it's just gonna keep happening. Now we can go over to one that if you know anything about the gaming scene, DK Oldies is a company that sells refurbished items, controllers, gaming systems, video games, you name it, and they've definitely had their fair share of problems, but we'll run this clip first.
To the people saying that it's overpriced. So let me explain how it goes. Right now, this is normally the slow time here in our shop, so we don't have as much stock on hand. But when things started blowing up for us just in the past few months, we had to go out to refill our supply. When we have to be buying like that, kind of in a frenzy, we'll wind up having to pay more for the items, which means we have to list them for more.
Okay, so I understand that. However, this video was pretty old. And with their rise in popularity, a lot more people buying their stuff, they started to get extremely lazy, while they were simultaneously charging a ton of money for their used products. If you know this YouTuber, Jacob R., he goes through a ton of DK Oldie products he bought, Xboxes, PlayStations, controllers, opening them up and going through them, and they were destroyed. Covered in dust, not cleaned at all, even though that's what they advertised their company doing. And they just straight up weren't. They were lying, scamming their customers. I think recently they have gotten better, but it was really only because so many people were calling them out on social media, getting a ton of backlash. Here's another one that I didn't really know how to fit into this video, but I just thought it was odd to upload this in the first place. This is a clip from a small business bakery. Trash can POV, the cafe is finally closed. I could start eating. And the entire video is just throwing out all of their products at the end of the day. Now I get it, there are some crazy rules with food food when it comes to business. Food waste, product waste is absolutely insane. I know people could write it off on their taxes as a total loss, but uploading a video like this, especially with the bakery, I mean, we saw the clips earlier, people charging an arm and a leg for small cakes, and then at the end of the day, let's record a video of us just chucking all of it in the trash, does not look good for your business whatsoever. I would never step a toe in the business that was so aggressive about food waste. There's so many alternatives. This is a disgrace. In Canada, this could all be donated to any registered charity, including soup kitchens, shelters, churches. Many businesses do this already, so there's no excuse. Why not put these on the Too Good To Go app, where people would gladly buy them for a discounted price? I'm not sure what you guys were trying to do with this video here. That's what I'm saying. I know that this happens with a lot of businesses. I just don't understand why you'd upload it. What a waste. I would never spend a dime here. There are so many things you could do. 50% off in the last hour, Too Good To Go, donations. I think this will just make people not try your business. More comments than likes. Yeah, you guys are cooked. It's just odd to me because in today's world, people think it's okay to post any thought on your mind, upload videos left, right, and center, when you could have just avoided posting this altogether and not have to deal with any of this backlash. But to finish off this video, we have some of the extra hurdles you got to deal with when running a small business, because it is definitely not the same as working for a company. Quit your job, live that dream, open a restaurant. That's how I went from making $4,000 a month to $400. I know it's pretty obvious, but everything has to be dealt with yourself. You're not going to be getting a consistent check every couple of weeks. This includes benefits, healthcare, and taxes as well.
If you sell on Depop or Poshmark or eBay or anything like that, just to let you know, you have to pay taxes on that. Yeah, you will be getting something in the mail for taxes or email for taxes. Apparently not a lot of people knew about that, and I've been seeing people cry about it, going, I have to pay taxes? Yes, you have to pay taxes on the money that you make. If there's two things that are certain in life in the United States, is death and paying taxes. You can't escape either one of those.
And he's right, there's a good amount of people who don't know you have to pay taxes on those items, as well as just working for yourself, and that's how you get audited by the IRS. We have seen many examples of that from the financial audit. But here we got a perfect example of how much more you have to make working for yourself to receive all the benefits that you would normally get if you worked for a big corporation.
I quit my six-figure job to make videos online. Now I pay $753 a month just for health insurance. These are the 4 hidden costs of self-employment and why I now need to make $150,000 just to replace my old $114,000 salary. When you're employed, your employer pays half your Social Security and Medicare. When you're self-employed, you pay both sides. That's an extra 7.65% or $8,721 a year. While Tennessee has no state income tax, since I'm a business, I now pay a 6.5% franchise and excess tax. That's another $7,410 a year. My old employer used to match my 401k at 6%. I want to replace that myself. That's $6,840 a year. And finally, the ones that
Strudel.
Most,
what a cutie.
Long-term disability, $141 a month. Dental, $20 a month.
Also,
Vision,
I paid the bill.
a month. EAP, $5 a month. And health insurance,
Paid the
$753 a month. That's over $11,000 a year
Also,
just to
this
match
video
what my employer
is over. I have cleaning and dog stuff to do. And I think at least some of my packages for the Explorer are here. Let me double check. Because I know 2 people showed up outside. Arriving today still. Delivered today. Delivered today. So arriving today still is yeah. Okay. So it's still coming. Probably just gonna be in like the USPS mail. Okay, I love you. I might be on back later, depending on how long everything takes me. I love you.